Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3. Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushes. Awesome game set.
Checker flag in the air.
The game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Yeah, welcome into the Monday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezvik, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Joseph, what's going on? How are you?
I'm okay. How's that first day of back to the 4 or whatever a.m. wake up?
It was tough to wake up this morning, to be honest with you. It was tough. But I did it, and now I'm excited.
Dude, you have a caffeine-free soda there.
It's a new me.
You're out of caffeine?
No, this is just purchased for me. So
Oh, okay.
I had to do it.
Just pretend.
This is just, I was just like, oh, this is what this is? Okay, cool. We'll do that. Sounds good.
I was going to ask if you were okay, Robby.
This is doing me no good today.
We love caffeine on this show. All the caffeine.
We got coffee for you if you need it.
Well, I may have to do that by the end of the show. Michelle, how are you? What's going on?
Doing great, guys. Doing great this morning. Just, yeah.
Yeah, no.
You got
Kentucky
Joe,
feud healed.
You bought tickets yet for the Mark Stoops, John Calipari ringside fight cage match?
I knew this was going to come up.
Whose side are you on?
I honestly, I think Cal's being a little diva, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, Mark Stoops, yeah, you stand up. But, come on. Now you got to have the AD's got to have.
The wrong guy here.
Yeah.
You think?
Let's get this going.
Yeah.
Wait, seriously?
Oh, I think so. Why is he acting like such a baby?
Well, I feel like Cal is actually acting like a baby.
Cal came out yesterday and apologized.
Let's keep it going.
He's like, I'm
Joe
sorry.
is a huge Kentucky basketball fan.
Yeah.
I'm calling balls and strikes. I see Cal. Yeah, okay, maybe he said something a little too much. Stoops goes nuts and has this big social media campaign. Okay, the shots he took. Oh, my program wasn't born on third base. Really? Oh, 4 straight postseason wins? First of all, they must hate each other, right? They must hate it. Like in real life,
sound like they're
each other.
huge fans of each other, I'll be honest with you.
They're very different. In my defense,
They're different, but I love them both.
No, they are different, but I love them both in their each ways.
There you go.
But I also haven't been on Twitter since Friday night, so.
At some point this week, we're going to have the guy who started this nuclear meltdown. I remember when Kyle Tucker was going to Bahamas, I'm like, oh, wow. Sounds like a real big assignment for you, Kyle.
Real tough job down there, buddy.
That's tough. And he just starts Kentucky Civil War. Amazing.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. Hope to see how he did it.
I'm sure you are, Robby. I'm sure you are.
It's been a great time. Hope this continues for a couple more weeks here in the Kentucky Athletic Department. Good stuff, but I will be looking forward to the John Calipari, Mark Stoops cage match. I'm going to go with Stoops on that one.
Yeah. Cal
as we know,
would probably fight dirty.
Somebody's tried to fight John Calipari before, way back in the day.
Cheney would have absolutely annihilated him, too. Yeah.
One of my favorite clips of all time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful stuff. Speaking of beautiful stuff, Joe Rexrode, what a weekend of preseason NFL football. It was enough really to get the juices flowing. I watched 2 quarters of Packers-Niners the other night. Really got me fired up about some football. Well, I caught a glimpse of Colts-Bills as well. We'll get to that here in just a second. But preseason football, I think I'm already over it. Let's get to the regular season.
Jordan Love threw 3 picks?
Yes, sir, he did.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, I will say, the first one bounced directly up in the air off of the receiver's hands.
Okay.
The second one, the receiver had the ball in his hands, and then it got ripped away. And the third one was a bad throw.
Okay, so one
was really
on him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes you feel a little better. I'm like, is this guy just going to become the worst quarterback employed in the NFL by
Well, don't get me wrong. He's not good.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the 3 was a little deceiving.
A little bit deceiving.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Good to know. And Lions-Falcons had a
Yeah, they did.
I was watching some of that before the Chili Pepper Show Friday, and boy, it looked very intense.
It was
Mariota looked good though.
Mariota looked good. Desmond Ridder, game winner, good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Man, that competition's fierce
I guess.
down there in Atlanta.
Though I'm sure the Lions' 3s and 4s are really tough to score on at the end of a preseason game.
Sure they are.
Dan Campbell probably wept uncontrollably for about a half hour after.
Well, look, it's probably good for their sake that they didn't win because the post-game, as we know, the post-game victory speech for Dan Campbell, it can last a long time. At 3rd and 6 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Really good job of
Goes
sealing
through every guy.
setting the edge there. Really good stuff.
What are his loss speeches like?
I don't know.
There must have been some. Well, that's the thing.
They got to be emotional.
Teams don't put out lost stuff. They don't put lost content out.
No.
I'd love to know, though.
I would too.
Like, is it, it could be the same thing. You almost made that play on 2nd and 7. Jared, just a couple less picks. And, yeah, I don't know. Or
that
maybe
false start really set us back, so we got 11 on the next play instead of 12. And really good stuff.
Maybe we'll find out this week on Hard Knocks.
I hope so. Great stuff. Love the Detroit Lions on Hard Knocks. So the Bills and the Colts in action over the weekend as well. Two different approaches. The Bills did not start any of their starters, which was not surprising. I don't think they probably need to all preseason long. And the Colts, with a different approach, basically started all their starters except Jonathan Taylor out there. And Matt Ryan was in the game until the second quarter. And, Joe, honestly, it didn't go very well for the Colts offensively against the Bills and their backup defense. I think Ryan finished 6 of 10 for like 58 yards or something like that. I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched the whole game or anything. I did see some of it. He looked okay, but the concern out of Indy over the last couple of days in the aftermath of that has been the wide receiving core and their inability to get open or inability to create any separation whatsoever against the backup defense for the Buffalo Bills. And this is not a new conversation. We've talked about this the whole offseason with Indianapolis. You've got Michael Pittman Jr., which I still feel pretty good about. And honestly, outside of that, I don't think there's much there. Now, Alec Pierce, we'll see. He was, second-round pick. We'll see what he turns into for Indianapolis. But not a very good preseason debut for a receiving core in Indy that I don't have a whole lot of confidence in anyway. And over the weekend, they did nothing to bolster any confidence in that group.
Yeah, and I hate to immediately bring this in, but I'm just getting text barraged all weekend by Jared. I hate to we had some Jared stuff last week. So he's huge on like the Colts, like their media is super homer.
Okay.
So my philosophy on this, which I said on Jervis Joe last week, and I've said this many times, if you love a team, the beat writers of the team you hate are the biggest homers in the world. That's my belief. And I'm not saying that there's not some homerism. Like, I think there's actually Colts homerism in the league. That's like, seriously.
Yeah.
What was that? Okay, I was listening to a national show, and I'm sorry that I don't remember who it was. I think it was Fox Sports Radio. I don't know. But anyway, listening to it this weekend driving, and they got into, well, of course, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich. These guys are just brilliant guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which again, I think Chris Ballard's done a pretty good job. You got the quarterback rug pulled out from under him, and Reich. I think I was bullish on him as a coach, not so much, but that's still like people around the league talk about that.
They love him.
But Jared is adamant that this is the biggest homer media core ever. I have seen a lot of stuff since that game about how, like they had no game plan, which is true. Preseason games, Reich comes up with these great route combinations. That's what he schemes guys open, et cetera, et cetera. Which, look, I think there's some truth to it, but ultimately you still have to be able to just win one-on-one at times. Like you are going to be in 3rd and 8, and they're going to play man, and you have to win those things.
Well, you should win one-on-one against the Bills backup.
There's that too. So, yeah, I think that obviously Pittman's good. I don't know what Pierce is. The Paris Campbell thing is every year. It's like, oh, he could be amazing. Oh, in camp, look at what he did. And then it's just like he doesn't put it together.
The Colts fan base, I can tell you, just from some Twitter searches I did over the weekend, they're kind of done with Paris Campbell.
Yeah.
Look, we'll see what happens.
At this point, you expect to see. For example, totally different situation because the expectations were not high or anything like that. But like Racing McMath is kind of a guy like, wow, what, size, speed, all that stuff. And he's made huge gains this year to the point where, well, we can talk about the receivers later. I think I have a Racey McMath hot take to go ahead and, but we had Racey on last week. But there's an example of, like you got to see that kind of progress. And at this point with Campbell, man, it's been long enough.
Well, look, this is part of what my hesitation with the Colts has been anyway. Like, I still, and I know, and one thing I will say, going back to like the Homer media discussion with the Colts, the Matt Ryan love's been a little ridiculous. Like, it's been a little bit out there with the Matt Ryan stuff. And they did it with Carson Wentz last year too. It's a little ridiculous. So I'm not anywhere near as big a believer in Matt Ryan as everybody in Indianapolis seems to be. So we'll see what happens on that front. But a part of why I've been very consistent all offseason, and I will remain so heading into this year, of picking the Titans to win the AFC South. Like, I don't think the Colts are going to be all that dangerous offensively outside Jonathan Taylor. Will the Titans be? I don't know. We'll see. But I feel better about the Titans group of receivers right now than I do the Colts. And, this weekend, it's a preseason game. I think there's way too much overreaction that goes on in the preseason, especially with the game part of it.
Yeah, like team results stuff.
Like team results
stuff. The Titans pass rush is in trouble, man.
Yeah.
I saw no pass rush against the Ravens. It's all overrated. Right.
So I'm not going to sit here and freak out if I'm a Colts fan over the first game of the preseason, but to me, it's not like it's not a new discussion. It's the same discussion. Yeah. It's your wide receivers I don't think are good enough. And until proven otherwise, that's kind of my view on the Colts wide receivers heading into this year.
I know, like I might be drifting back toward. I hate this too, but I might be drifting back toward picking the Titans.
God,
dang it! I don't know, because I'm with you. Like
we're a couple weeks away from having our predictions.
I know. Yeah, we have to watch very closely here. Because as I agree, like Matt Ryan, I think is going to be better, but I don't know. I don't know this idea that he's going to come out and be, Matty Ice part deux might be a little bit of a stretch.
We're off and running here today on Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. It is Titans and Bucks week here in Nashville. What are we looking for out of the joint practices this week? We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey everybody, Willie Donick here to tell you about Trivia Night for Stars. Think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, August 24th to Boom Bars East and test your trivia skills. I'll be your trivia master. We'll have sports questions, some non-sports questions, and some great prizes. It's brought to you by Nerdy Talk, and all proceeds support Stars and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you on August 24th at Boom Bars East.
Indeed believes less is more. That's why they have powerful tools to help you source, screen, and hire quality people faster. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach. And let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
It's a fact. Guys hate going to the doctor. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and low testosterone issues, men from all over Middle Tennessee have been thrilled seeing Dr. Alderson and the providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Men all the way up to 95 years old have jump-started their sex drive and energy levels. Lots of men suffer with ED for years, but now they're able to enjoy sex again. Tom from Nashville said, "The Tennessee Men's Clinic has changed my life. I have been able to be intimate with my wife for the first time in 5 years. She thought this problem was because of her, but the pills never worked for me. I had given up until I went to the clinic and realized there were more options for erectile dysfunction. Now I'm happy and my wife is happy. A visit for only $99, and that includes all testing, including a PSA and testosterone test. Give the guys at the clinic a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
5X480.
Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's on. It's happening.
Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Talking Titans, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. It is Titans and Bucks week, Joe Rexrode. Some joint practices forthcoming, and the game itself on Saturday night. No Tom Brady this week. So, bit of a disappointment last week when Brady announced he's going to be out, or I guess the Bucs announced that he's going to be out until, I believe, after the game. So he'll be back next week is the current plan for Tom Brady. But no number 12 out there this week. That takes a little luster off this for me. But overall, what does that do for you? Particularly if you're Vrabel and you're trying to get in some good work this week with your starters defensively, and now Brady's not there. I would imagine, obviously, whatever's going on with Brady, we wish him and his family well and whatever's happening there. But,
yeah,
I'm sure Vrabel's looking at this situation now like, all right, Kyle Trask going to be throwing the ball around. That'd be fun. Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, I mean, you still got, some good, different looks from receivers and stuff. But, yeah, it's very different. It's along with the media side of, like, what's Brady going to do to troll Vrabel or vice versa.
Yeah.
But the more important thing is you got Tom Brady testing your secondary, and that's gone. So that's a big disappointment. I mean, basically the Titans now need to hope that there's not a new Call of Duty version that comes out next week if they want to get a good look.
Kyler, come out here,
please. Will you just come throw a couple passes? Come on,
Kyler, put the controller down.
But
you're only 45 minutes into your 4-hour study. You got work to do. I'm gonna have so much fun next week.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that'll be interesting too. I mean, just Kyler Murray being around, and the thing is, Titans should remember well how he carved them up. Imagine if he would have really poured himself into that game plan. What he would have done? What would they have scored? About 60 last year?
Probably so.
But Brady, that stinks. That's too bad for all parties involved. Still going to be really good look for the Titans. It's good look, and it's interesting. Listening to Lawan last week, basically say he hates these things.
Yeah.
Because he calls it the Wild Wild West. So there is there's just a lot of intensity that you just don't see. Obviously, in a practice when it's a one team practicing, it gets intense. It's a lot of fun to watch. I'll tell you that. It's way different than your average practice.
So knowing that it's not going to be Brady out there slinging the ball around, we know that heading in this week. Still some good receiver tests that these corners, especially the young guys, are going to have to go up against. So looking forward to that. What else are you looking forward to this week between the Titans and Bucks, maybe as it relates to the offensive side of the ball for the Titans?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I would still argue it's close because with Brady, it's such a great look for a Caleb Farley, Roger McCreary, although, McCreary has been banged up, I believe, everybody – yesterday was one of the most boring practices of all time. In football history. I mean, it's, Vrabel, I think he's probably gearing up for what's coming this week. And so it was helmets, no shoulder pads or anything, and walk through speed. But I think they're getting everybody back. But it would be a good look for them, obviously, to go against him. But I still think even before that, even if Brady were coming, number one would be this offensive line against their defensive front. Talking about some legit players on the other side. they go against legit players here, but it's still different players. And when you go against the same guys over and over and over again, you get to know their tendencies, right? So now those guys get to see somebody different. The interior in particular, Tampa Bay is, Vita Vea is like, 650 pounds and runs a 4.9. So this is a good look for them. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at obviously the right tackle situation, which I'd put Dylan Radins slightly ahead of Nicholas Petit-Frere, but I think that there's definitely time for that to continue to be a real competition, and I think it's pretty close. And this is a kind of week that could help bring some clarity to that.
Well, I think it's a really important week on that front. For the receivers, can Traylon Burks, make some noise this week? Obviously, kind of a quiet preseason game itself. Todd Downing talked yesterday about taking some of what he's done in practice and kind of translating that to the game. The game-like situations in practice this week against Tampa Bay. Can Racey McMath, a guy like that, continue to flash in, these open practices against Tampa Bay? Big play in the preseason game as well. He's been making plays all camp. Can you see some of your receiving core? What Robert Woods is. And, obviously, I'm interested to see what he looks like this week, but can some of your younger guys continue to stand out against different kind of competition? That's going to be really important. And, how does Tannehill look? I mean, this is one of those things that I probably will put some stock into. I know you still are, they're not going to be hitting the quarterback, but does Tannehill look sharp this week against a different opponent and a different look out there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with the young guys, again, I think we talked quite a bit about this last week, but Kyle Phillips right now is, I would say, surging. Now, the preseason game, you didn't see much of this. I mean, Kyle Phillips got one target. Traylon Burks got one target, almost was able to go get it in the end zone, which would have made Logan Woodside's night look a lot better. Probably would have changed the discussion a little bit Friday, which was very heavy on number 2 quarterback. Let me tell you something.
Yes, it was.
Let me tell you. But Kyle Phillips he is really coming on, and Racey McMath is daily impressing. Traylon Burks right now is a big week for him. I think I have no idea what's going on, so to speak. It's not like it's some huge dip, but whereas early in camp it was a daily wow play every few minutes from him, it's kind of slowed down a little bit, and could be a little bit of camp fatigue or whatever the case may be as a rookie who, by the way, came in with so much on him anyway. I'd say this is a big week for him to go out there against some different NFL corners, some good corners they have at Tampa Bay, and do some things, make some plays.
Well, and this week and next week, these two practices against the Bucs and the Cardinals they're going to put together for your starters. This is probably the bulk of the work, especially for a guy like Tannehill. Tannehill's probably not playing in the preseason, so this is his work to get ready for the season opener against the Giants. It's kind of like right now against Tampa Bay, and then next week against Arizona as well. Obviously, it's still not the same because I do think there's a difference in practice if you're a quarterback of knowing that you're not going to get hit. I'm 100% aware I'm not going to get hit on this play, and it's a different thing from being in the game, but this is as close as he's going to get to some work before the preseason. He's looked really sharp all camp. If he looks sharp again this week, to me, I'm feeling okay about Tannehill heading in this year, but this is kind of it for him this week and next week.
So camp translates directly to regular season.
Directly.
Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think the big difference, last year to this year, which of course comes up this week because we know who's coming to town. I think he'll be out there. Could be very interesting. At least we've got Julio.
Oh yeah.
But last year it was like, when's Josh Reynolds going to come back? Oh, okay, Josh Reynolds makes a big play at the stadium, but now he's back out. Julio basically out the whole time. A.J. Brown out a lot of it. Mental reps. We talk about routes, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's every day. Woods, Burks. And again, Phillips, Westbrook-Akina, been very consistent, very good. And Racey, I'm telling you. Racey McMath right now. Should I give my hot take? Do I wait? Do I wait on my hot take?
That's up to you.
I'm trying to think. Do we have a? Well, we talk receivers later. I can. You
can do it again.
I can refresh my hot take.
Yeah.
I think early in the season. Okay, I want to make that clear.
Okay.
I think Racing McMath may be ahead of Traylon Burks in the pecking order.
Ooh.
I said may. Okay. Let me put it this way. This isn't really a hot take. I would say that this is true right now. I'd say he is ahead of him right now.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And I know that there's a lot of things. First of all, we had Mike Herndon last week, and he had the tweet. Did you see the whole thing with him and the tweet?
Yeah.
And Roto World guy was like, "Oh, Traylon Burks is just working with the 2s and 3s and never." It's like, no, that you totally. And then other people ran with it. So I'm not saying that Traylon Burks is sinking on the depth chart. I think really this is more about Racing McMath and what he's doing well. But I would say that right now he might get more reps in a game if they played a game today. Now, the plan is not for that. I would tell you that too. So it's 4 weeks from yesterday that they opened the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of time for that to change. But I feel pretty good about Racing McMath having some kind of role in this offense. And I think early in the season, Traylon Burks' role may be somewhat disappointing to people who think he's going to come right in and set the world on fire. You make plays in camp, that's great. Still working on being ready to be an NFL receiver in a regular season game. So that's where I think things stand right now. So I kind of gave a hot take and then totally qualified it. But I'm
Racing
sorry.
McMath,
I had to do it.
Wide receiver 1.
There you
out
go.
There.
Thank you. Yes.
Wide receiver 1. Racing McMath. Hey, I will say this.
Tweet it out.
I was at the beach last week down in Tampa, and fortunately got access to some Tampa Bay local news down there.
Oh, goody, yeah.
And I will just say, I watched a couple of sportscasts, and the term 2019 Julio Jones was being thrown around a lot.
No,
he looks like
my
2019
goodness.
Julio Jones. I'm just saying.
What if this is just Clowney revisited? He goes down there and has 1,200 yards this year, just like Clowney in Cleveland.
Apparently, he's looked pretty good.
Boy. Wow, I hope he's out there this week. That will be fun. I'm trying to think who among the Titans corners would be most likely to it's like if Malcolm Butler were still here, he might get into it with him. You know what I mean? But there's I don't see it.
I don't see it.
I don't know. Maybe who knows? Maybe we'll find out that Elijah Molden had an issue with him this week. I don't know.
Really can't stand Julio.
Let's hope.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, is it time to give up on a certain draft pick from last year? Some interesting thoughts I saw on that over the weekend. We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Now at Lowe's, order any flooring like Stainmaster Pet Protect carpet, starting at $185 per square foot. See in-store associate or product detail page for warranty information.
When you need electronics or appliances, find great deals in-store or online at Electronic Express. Save big on favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Nintendo, iRobot, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and the NFL Week 1 odds are out, and now's the time to try FanDuel Sportsbook if you haven't already. Get in on the action early this season. Right now, new FanDuel Sportsbook customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Maybe you like Derrick Henry to win the rushing title. I like him to win the rushing title. Maybe you like a surprise team in the NFC like the Saints. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year, so some good odds there. Take it any way you want to take it. Just sign up using promo code ROB. Place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. There's no better place to get ready for football season than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Make sure you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is Rob. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Somebody company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezvik, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Talking Titans, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chris on the text line says, has anyone checked on Jared to make sure he's okay after he heard Brady won't be there this week? Probably a very disappointing time for Jared.
It probably is a tough time. And that really, it's kind of tough for everybody because I'd love just a re-ask of the MFR question.
Yes, I would too. So, Tom, are you sure you weren't talking about Ryan Tannehill?
Are you sure the MFR is not within about 100 yards of you right now? Just saying. You don't have to name names.
Right. Just confirm or deny.
Of course, it's disappointing for everybody. I hope everything's okay with Brady.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on that, but hopefully everything's all right there. So I did see this on Friday as I was coming back, and the tweet from Jared was, quote, "It's time to give up on Dylan Radins." So I saw that
tweet.
Yes, I saw that the other day. I was like, okay, I'll have to watch this later. So I did. I went back and watched it and listened to Jared's interview with Trevor Maddich over the weekend, which joins him every week. And we love Trevor Maddich here on this show. And he had some interesting thoughts on Dylan Radins and what he saw from Radins in the preseason game against Baltimore last week. Here's what Trevor Maddich had to say on Friday on Stillman and Company.
Yeah, the bad North Dakota State, the Bison, they weren't well represented yesterday by Dylan Radins. He started the game at right tackle and basically got tossed around. I mean, on the opening series for the Titans on third down, they left Radins on an island on the right side. He had a pass rusher coming in from lined up very wide. There was no tight end out there. There was no help. And this happens often in preseason games where coaches will leave players on an island, whether it's a pass blocker or a corner on a wide receiver or a linebacker having to cover a running back in coverage. They'll leave them on an island to see what they can do. So Radins' first opportunity, he took his set on that guy all by himself on a big old island, and the pass rusher gave him a club with his inside arm and bent Radins over sideways away from the line of scrimmage. I mean, just about tossed him onto his ear. I'm surprised Radins didn't go down. That's where Corey Levin, I think it was Levin, bailed him out, right? But that wasn't good. That's one play. But there were so many other plays where Radins actually got his man blocked from the standpoint of the guy didn't get to the quarterback, but it looked incredibly crazy. Radins' arms and legs just spread every which way. He wasn't punching, he was catching. So he was the punching bag. He wasn't turning the defender into the punching bag. There was nothing to fear if you're a pass rusher when you rush Ratens, because he's not going to harm you in any way. He's just going to sort of get his hands on you and try to envelop you and catch you and then try to drop anchor. Well, a lot of times he'll do that, but instead of dropping anchor or before he drops anchor, he'll end up getting pushed back with both feet in the air. Now he's airborne. And then he puts both feet down. He's able to drop anchor enough to where the guy doesn't get to the quarterback. Well, you go against starting NFL pass rushers, and you're going to get absolutely annihilated. And so he just did not inspire in me confidence that he's at a place where the foundation is one he can build from and become a starting right tackle, where Petit Frere kind of showed that foundation a little bit at that position. Now, it's one game. It wasn't against the Ravens starters. There's a lot that they can both get better at. But that's what I saw in this first game, and I expected better out of Dylan Radin.
So that was Trevor Maddich on Friday on Stillman and Company. Obviously, Trevor Maddich, a former offensive lineman, so he watches the offensive line with great interest. What did you make of what Trevor Maddich had to say there, particularly as it relates to the performance of Dylan Radins? And how does that match up with what you've seen from Dylan Radins thus far?
So now I'm trying to go back and find my texts, because I definitely had a text that was like, Trevor Maddich is destroying him, from Jared. I can't find it. But anyway, that to me was not that. I'm like, is Maddich, does he really just go off? I mean, that was really interesting analysis from a guy who obviously knows offensive line play very well. And man, I got to say, watching it as it happened, I did not. I guess I didn't notice how bad that particular rep was, but I think that, of course, and now I'm seeing this, even though I've muted him. Why am I seeing this? I'm not supposed to be seeing this, but I'm seeing it.
It's because I tagged you in it on the game.
And so that will make me see his tweets?
Probably.
Interesting. Anyway, yeah. So it's a really interesting piece of analysis. I don't think it's especially encouraging when it comes to Radins. You have to keep it, and he did qualify it, by the way. It's one game, it's right. I mean, he's talking about one play. But then the Jared reaction is time to give up on Dylan Radins. That clear. The information is clear. We need no more information. Cut him. But I will say this, I would agree that just when you watch Petit Frere, I just feel like the physicality and the power element. I've seen him have some, the punch, of course, a big part of being a pass protector, of pass blocking. You got to extend those arms. You got to be able to stun and slow down the pass rusher to some extent. I've seen Petit Frere have some terrific reps in that way, and I think there is major upside for him to eventually be a good, probably right tackle. I think he's probably better as a right tackle. I just don't know. I mean, I think, again, I would say right now, Dylan Radins is still a little bit ahead of him. So does that mean that you just don't have an answer over there? Maybe. That may be. We had Gentry on last week. Gentry asked us from Tennessee, and he thinks there's – or was that when you were still on the show?
No.
That was – okay. Yeah, back in the day when you were on –
Back in the day when I showed up to work.
When you were on the show, yeah. When you weren't, pina colada. No, he said last week. I was kind of surprised by this. He's like, I said, who's their starting right tackle on opening day? He said he's not on the roster right now. Really? It's an interesting thought.
I've heard a lot of people say that though, and I understand it. But who is that going to be? If you've got right tackles out there that are all of a sudden available, that I guess the thinking is that you're going to go get somebody that's cut. Well, are they going to be any better than Dylan Radins and or Nicholas Petit Frere? I mean, we don't know specifically who it would be, obviously, but
if so, this is worse than I even realize right now.
Well, yeah,
I'd be surprised.
Why are teams cutting right tackles that you can just pick up and start immediately if you're the Titans? If that's the case, I've heard a lot of people say, not just Gentry, I've heard a lot of people say, well, the right tackle, it's not on their roster right now. Well, that doesn't speak very well of what you got right now, because are you going to go off the scrap heap and get somebody and people that were cut? The salary cap saving part of this is pretty much done. That was done over the offseason. So you're getting cut right now from a team. It's probably because they don't think you're very good. So I don't know who that guy is out there.
No, I don't either. I mean, I'm looking right now, like Spot tracks, free agents, like Brian Bulaga is out there at 33 years old. Mike Remmers is out there at 33 years old. I mean, it's slim pickings. So, no, it's going to be one of these two guys. Also had some, we talked to Dylan Radins last week, and he talked about one thing that's clear to me after talking to him for quite a while last week is he definitely, I guess this isn't a surprise, but I just had never, heard him talk about it, that he's much more comfortable on the left side. He compared it to a daily function that I hadn't really thought of in those terms, but it kind of makes sense.
I did not see this.
So
we'll talk about it later.
Well, no, I mean, we talked about it. I read his quote. Essentially, he said it's like it's like changing your wiping hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So, because I asked him, like, if you went back there on the left side right now, what would it be like? And he's like, yeah, it's like if you wipe with one hand your whole life, it's like, boom, you immediately. So you're still trying to wipe with your offhand.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm just saying.
I think the words were, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've never thought about it that way.
I hadn't either. I never heard that analogy, but because he said, I'm sure you've heard this. Like, no, but interesting. But it does. But that's him on the right side. In his entire life, he never played on the right side. And I'm not. To me, that's not like what Trevor Maddich is talking about. There is. I mean, it may just be about a player who doesn't have the physical capacity to do what you need to do at the level you need to do it against pass rushers who are in this league, right?
Right.
Like if you put him on the left side, all of a sudden, like all those things are way better. I mean, that's probably a stretch. Now, is he more comfortable? Is he more natural? I mean, it sounds like it. So I wondered last week, if things go well for these two, is it possible that at some point he's your left tackle and Petit Frere is your right tackle? Based on Trevor Maddich right there, I mean, you got that scenario, and then you've got all the way down to time to give up on him. Probably the truth is somewhere in between. But I would say this is a big week. A big week for both of those guys, but especially Radins, given the extra year he's been here to kind of, demonstrate that he can do this job. It's such a question right now.
We'll continue the conversation on Dylan Radins and the right tackle position for the Titans. Got some of your thoughts to get to as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Let me tell you about my friends at Twin Peaks. Fantasy football season is right around the corner, and they're here to hook you up for your fantasy football draft party, which will include a draft board, player stickers, free Wi-Fi, a $50 bonus for the commish, and a $5 bonus card for each drafter as well. When you're not on the clock, you can relax with one of Twin Peaks' refreshing 29-degree beers or order for the whole team. They got a whole lot of good stuff, including shareables like the double-stack nachos, loaded fries, and multiple flavors of boneless wings as well. So call Twin Peaks in Cool Springs today to book your fantasy football draft party at 615-221-0869. That's 615-221-0869. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Hey, football fans. Dak Prescott here. And I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Join 102.5 The Game, Brentwood Fire and Police, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, and the Nolensville Fire and Rescue for the 9th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive this Wednesday, August 17th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Brentwood Library on Concord Road. Sponsored by B.L. Harbert International.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe here to tell you about my drink of the summertime. You know it, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Screwball is the first and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. And it's an original, just like me, the suit. I take Screwball as a shot, but it's great on the rocks in an old-fashioned, an espresso martini, and many other recipes. So next time you're out and about, ask for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home, auto, and other vehicles.
In hockey, it's the goalie's job to protect the net. And in life, your net is your home and auto, but also your boat, motorcycle, RV, or ATV. And your goalie is the round-the-clock protection offered by Progressive Insurance. Well, it's also the savings you get when you bundle. So in this metaphor, you have two goalies, which is okay because, it's just a metaphor.
Forced Metaphors. Presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Geico presents Daily Affirmations.
Repeat after me. Our thoughts are like the ocean.
Our thoughts are like the ocean.
Our thoughts create our reality.
Our thoughts create our reality.
We're thinking Geico offers claim service 24/7 with personalised attention from an assigned team.
Geico offers claim service? I wasn't thinking that.
We think it and it becomes our reality.
So, what about washboard abs?
Let's give it a go. Think really hard.
Okay, abs.
Yep, keep thinking.
To manifest more Geico in your life, go to geico.com.
Informative.
They played a lot of power play time together back in the day.
Insightful.
It's a great addition to this team.
And just three guys being dudes.
On the sideline in shorts and a t-shirt.
Hanging out, watching the game.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
No such thing as bad press.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Radins, did he kind of show that growth that you guys have seen since this spring? Did it translate into the game?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan played hard. He played physical and with good effort and finish, and we expect that of him, especially a guy in his second year. He and Brew and Corey, those guys that were out there that, know our style of football, we expect there to be a consistency there, and we expect them to be leaders when it comes to play demeanor. So Dylan did some good things, and look forward to him continuing to grow.
That was Todd Downing yesterday, Titans offensive coordinator, on Dylan Radins. I found that interesting, kind of interesting in terms of, did that translate over the field? Yeah, he played hard. His play demeanor was good.
Try hard.
Okay, well, did he play well or did he not?
Yeah.
His play demeanor was good.
Okay. Yeah. I swear most of the plays that he was on the field for, it wasn't like he was fine, I think. Trevor Maddux painted a heck of a picture on that play, which I need to go back and watch again. Sounded like some dude just launched him into the air like a flea or something.
Airborne.
Yeah, the picture painted there. If you didn't see that, I was like, oh my gosh, how is this guy even on a football team? But I thought he seemed fine. And fine is probably what they're looking for. Fine is probably the hope, right? Now,
I would think so.
Fine in a preseason game doesn't necessarily mean fine in a real game, but someone mentioned the text line real quick, Eric Flowers, who is out there. Now, he's, of course, tackle who became a guard. He's only 28. He got released by the Washington football team. I suppose that's as attractive as any possibility out there.
But if they were going to go get somebody that was already available, don't you think they probably would have done that by now?
Exactly. Why are you wasting this time not getting reps and knowing the offense and building chemistry, et cetera, et cetera? This is what I think is what they're going to be looking at. One of those two guys at right tackle.
Jared sent me a text on my own personal text line. It says, Trevor says the Titans will get someone that's cut to play right tackle.
Yeah.
And two, maybe Bobby Hart of the Bills might be that guy. They do like some Bobby Hart.
Trading Bobby Hart back and forth. Yeah.
Is that
good? But
well, I'm not saying that won't happen. But if you're going to get Bobby Hart to be your right tackle, what does that tell you about the two guys you got right now?
Right, and is Bobby Hart, who on that one particular day against the Chiefs actually was held up okay, but Is that a better option than which? Because again, I think the difference here is Radens we've seen for a while, and obviously it just didn't go well his rookie year. He couldn't be active most Sundays, but is that better than just going with Petit Frere, living with rookie mistakes and hoping he grows into a pretty good player? But look at Nate Davis, beginning of his rookie year to the end. It was pretty remarkable, the transformation. So to me, it's like you have a swing tackle, and Jamarco Jones could be your swing tackle. Look, Bobby Hart may be a lot better than that. I would say he's probably better. So and that's a guy who's been here. So at least you could bring him in, have more depth there. But I think even if that's the case, I wouldn't make him a lock to be the starter. I think Petit Frere would be the starter.
Does it feel like to you that regardless, and I'm not just talking week 1 here, but at some point this season, whether it's week 1, week 8, week 15, whatever, does it feel inevitable to you that Petit Frere is eventually going to be the right tackle for this team?
It's my guess. I don't know if it's inevitable, but I think that's my guess of what's going to happen at some point. And then Radens is the swing tackle. Again, if you assume no additions, as we just discussed, that Radens would be your swing tackle. And, of course, Radens, as he said, in very interesting terms.
Descriptive.
He's more comfortable on the left side. So that'd be my guess. Yeah, when is it? I don't know. Maybe by the opener. You got 4 weeks. You got 4 weeks to still get a lot done. But I think at this point, like if I had to, I'm going to stick with my guess offensive line, which is Brewer and Radens starting, which was my guess long ago.
It was.
But I feel mildly confident in it, but I think it certainly could change by then. At some point, though, yeah, I think so.
Well, look, that could mean that it's, Nicholas Petit Frere ends up being a good right tackle. I don't know, but if you get, halfway through this year and all of a sudden Dylan Radens is just your swing tackle, oh man.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like we know what happened with the first round pick in 2020. So then the second round pick, I guess that's still an improvement. I mean, right now they've well exceeded that pick, right? It's hard not to.
Well.
And then, I guess if your third-round pick produces a starter, well, you kept trying, you dropped around, and you finally got it right, which is certainly possible with Petit Frere. But that's the thing, too, is like these two guys are in a competition, so we compare them. And so I think it's easy to kind of conflate their situations, but we shouldn't, because Petit Frere is a rookie, and I actually think there's a lot there. I think there's a lot there for him that could really be promising as an NFL player. It's just very early. Like Petit Frere right now compared to Radens a year ago, there's a big difference.
We'll have Adam Sparks coming up at 7 o'clock to talk Vols, who had a scrimmage yesterday, so looking forward to that as well. Right now, some of your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Got a texture that says there could be a right tackle that's decent that's released by a team that already has a right tackle that's established. Positive thoughts on the text line.
It's possible.
Positive thoughts. It's possible, but, teams that have good backup tackles, they generally like to keep them. Tackles get hurt.
Yeah, offensive line play, like good offensive line play, is not in excess in the NFL.
No. So I'm not saying that the Titans are not going to go out and find somebody that's cut, because they very well could end up doing that. I just don't know who that's going to be that gets you all that excited. Like, is there somebody that's going to get cut out there that you're like, oh, yeah, I feel good about them being the starter at right tackle?
Oh, my God, they cut him?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Eric Flowers thing, I get it. But like you said, well, that would have been, that would have been good information yesterday. Like, bring him in, get him ready if you actually think he can do that. Zach says, isn't it saying a lot that Radens only played 7 snaps? Seems like that signals a lot about his status on this team in a positive way. I mean, you could look at it that way. I look at it like anybody who didn't play, certainly. Like any of the guys who didn't show up, who didn't.
Right.
I mean, those are all the guys you're protecting. So Radens.
Look, I think Dylan Radens used to play as much as possible in the preseason.
Yeah, well, but to Zach's point, I would agree that you need reps, but if you only play him that much, that kind of is saying there's a pretty good chance he's your right tackle, right? Yeah. So it's one of those two guys. I hear what you're saying, Zach. Be interesting to see. Like, again, this week, I don't know who or how much on Saturday night, just the mesmerizing event that will be. But this week definitely bears close watching of him and Petit Frere. And, look, I just said Petit Frere is way different than Radins a year ago. I would also say Radins now is still way different than Radins a year ago. He's not like, oh, my gosh, get him off the field like he was a year ago. He's improved a lot. It's just hard to know, has he improved enough to be okay as a starting right tackle?
Well, and the thing that is interesting this week, and which is, I think, a preseason game is probably not going to serve you very, very well on, and Trevor brought this up in that clip we played last segment. Like, he wasn't going up against starting caliber players.
Yeah.
So what's it going to look like when he is? I mean, we could get a pretty good picture of that this week, which is why we've talked about this right tackle competition for 6 months at this point. And we've talked about since the beginning, when these practices were thrown out there with Tampa Bay and Arizona, one of the things we brought up was, well, if you're John Robinson and Mike Vrabel, wouldn't you really like to see at that point these two guys go at it out there and see how they stack up against some good fronts? And you're going to see a couple good fronts in Tampa Bay and Arizona coming up. So, I mean, this is going to give you, I think, a pretty good litmus test of where they are comparative to starting caliber players in the NFL, which you're just not going to get in the preseason.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's look, like, remember, though, like, they get, like, Bud Dupree's coming.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Harold Landry's coming. And even, like, Rashad Weaver, like, they've been getting consistent good looks. And, like, it's not like it's been a complete runaway train every time they're trying to pass block some of these guys, It's still a little different. Like, there's still limitations on how hard or how physical it is, but it's the biggest concern. It's the biggest question. I'm not convinced it's destined to be a disaster either, but a lot of work to do in 4 weeks.
We'll continue the conversation, take more of your thoughts on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News-Sentinel. A scrimmage yesterday for the Vols. What have we made so far of the Vols during fall camp? We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game. Talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors.
So you have to drive 300 miles to your cousin's wedding. Okay, so it's his fourth. But you know what they say, fourth time's the charm. Well, here's the problem. Your tires are as bald as I am. But lucky for you, eBay Motors has tires for just about every make and model. Plus wheels, lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Doug. Chances are you're jamming in your car right now. And since Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance so you only pay for what you need, Limu and I are going to show you some safe car dance moves. Hit it. Everybody, check your blind spots real quick. Now hands on the wheel. Put them 10 in 2 and move your head like a bird do. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Second flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive, this is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezovic, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our good friend Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News Sentinel. Adam, what's going on? How we doing?
Pretty good, guys. How y'all doing?
We're great. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. So, Adam, another scrimmage yesterday from the Vols. Josh Heupel spoke afterward. What's your sense of the Vols, especially offensively, how they're coming along, particularly with the receivers so far during camp? What's your sense on how Josh Heupel feels about that group?
Yeah, I think the receivers is exactly what my major observation was. So the scrimmages are closed to media. So you're looking for sort of context clues on what you've missed. And there's a few questions asked about, running backs and how Hendon Hooker looks and who's going to be the left tackle and all these questions that we usually ask. And then somebody asked, what about wide receiver? Do you feel like you've developed some depth there? Or, just sort of some general question that usually is a setup for a coach to say, yeah, I really like what we have there and like where we're going and progressing and all that. And instead, Josh Heupel kind of slumped his shoulders. If you look at the video, the body language, I think, said even more than the words he said. And even the words he said were, nope, not there yet, something like that. Because there's a little bit of an anxiety, I think, of what they're going to do there. I mean, if you think about their offense, this is an offense scored almost 40 points a game last year, could score with just about anybody. Running back has some issues, but generally they're fine there to start the year. Jabari Small's good. They have some other backs behind them. 4 or 5 starters returning the offensive line. You've got a really good quarterback in Hendon Hooker back. Your 2 tight ends are back. Your 1,000-yard wide receivers back with Cedric Tillman. You really have 2 spots you're going to figure out at wide receiver, and you feel like this engine can sort of just go like it did last year. But they don't quite know what that combination is. I mean, Brew McCoy's eligibility, the USC transfer, Brew McCoy's eligibility is a big question mark because if he's eligible, if he's ruled eligible today, then you say, hey, you got Brew McCoy, you got Jalen Hyatt, who they feel pretty good about it at slot, and you got Cedric Tillman, and then you're just sort of figuring out who fills out the group at number 4, number 5, number 6, whatever they want to do. But with Brew McCoy not eligible right now, Walker Merrill, guy from Brentwood there, is a possibility. Really good hands. Not super dynamic with after the catch, but really good hands. Ramel Keaton is sort of a known quantity. He's serviceable, but he's dropped a lot of passes in camps. I don't think they feel great about him. Jimmy Holiday was a name that was floated for the first time. I think I've heard this camp yesterday. So you can tell there's sort of reaching there. He's super fast, but he's more of a kick returner. Special teams guy, has not played a ton of wide receivers, was a high school quarterback. They pressed Jimmy Callaway a little bit, who's a really good playmaker, but more of the slot. He's inconsistent. They've criticized him. Now they're not criticizing him as much because they think maybe he can fit into that. So you can tell there's a little bit of concern there trying to figure out that unit, and everything is just put on pause until they know Brew McCoy's eligibility.
Yeah, and so Heupel, he's talking about a couple guys yesterday, missed a day or two, and then later, you got some guys who got to prove they can do the totality, all that stuff, and he said that's a Jimmy Callaway at Squirrel White, in particular those two guys. So one thing, so those two guys have been a little bit banged up, right? Which is not ideal, because I think both those guys might actually factor in.
They could. Now, here's the thing: is Jimmy Callaway can play on the outside or in the slot. He would be somebody you could maybe put on the outside if those other guys I named didn't work out. With Squirrel, yes, he's been well, both of them have, but as a freshman, Squirrel White sort of fits that MO of the sort of the camp star, maybe, that freshman that flashes, and he's got one really good thing about him, which is his speed, and you say this guy's going to set the world on fire this year, and then once you get into the season, that sort of fades, and maybe he shows up later in the year. I'm not saying that's going to happen with him, but that is sort of what you get a lot of these times with these freshmen that flash in the first 2 weeks of camp. Not to mention, I mean, here's the thing we have to remember at wide receiver, Josh Heupel's offense. Historically, he's had three guys. I mean, that up-tempo offense, they don't sub much. They have three guys that produce, and there's a steep drop-off to the fourth guy. That was the case at Missouri. It's the case at UCF. It was the case last year. So if you're not in the top three, you may get left out. And they know who their one is. They feel like they probably know who their two is, height, but they don't know who their three is. And if your 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all about the same, that really doesn't work well with what they do.
Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News Sentinel on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Adam, we've talked to you about the defensive side of the ball. I'm specifically interested in corner. What do you think of what they have there? And if you had to choose today, who do you think is starting at corner for Tennessee right now?
Warren Burrell, Christian Charles. I mean, Burrell is fine. He started last year. He's not a guy that's going to make a lot of money in the NFL a year from now. He's a solid corner. Christian Charles is a guy that they sort of moved there out of necessity in the spring because all their corners were hurt, and they looked at him and said, hey, he could maybe play the position. Christian Charles fits very much of what they sort of promote, especially in recruiting, as their approach of we don't sign corners or safeties or nickels. We just sign defensive backs. We just like guys that can play everywhere. I've said this before, and people cringe a little bit when I say it, but Georgia and Alabama usually don't say we just sign defensive backs and they just fit anywhere. You sign lockdown corners, you sign rangy safeties, and your leftovers play nickel. And I think Tennessee's done well in that the guys that they get are sort of that second-tier group behind what Georgia and Alabama typically get, and they use their versatility, and they can adjust well, and it helps them in terms of moving guys to different positions. But it does speak to the fact that they don't have lockdown corners. They just don't. And Charles and Burrell, I think, will be fine to start the year. Kamal Haddon is probably better than either of those guys. He's been injured. They feel like he'll be out there for practice, though, this week. And if he is, that helps because there's probably enough time for him to get in the starting lineup if he can catch up.
So Deshaun Rucker's name was mentioned, which I thought was interesting, mentioned by Heupel yesterday. I hadn't heard a lot about him, and I know he's had an injury. And Andre Turrentine, what am I missing with him? Why is he not in the discussion right now?
I think it's just going to take a while for him. I think he was Turrentine was sort of lumped in with Wesley Walker. These are two guys that used to be high school teammates at Innsworth. You think of them as comparable. One's from Georgia Tech, the other's from Ohio State. But Wesley Walker's played a lot of football, and he was a pretty well starter for 2 years at Georgia Tech. Turrentine played very little at Ohio State. He's just younger. So at the end of the year, I think we could be talking about Turrentine. Certainly next year. he's just not in the mix as much now. And, you know, he's probably going to be a safety, and they have their 2 starting safeties back. So there's not as much of a spot there. Wesley Walker sort of fits more into the star position, may play some at safety also. Yeah, I mean, they've got pieces that they can move around, which I like. I don't think they quite know where they're going to be yet. Deshaun Rucker was mentioned by Heupel. You didn't hear him as much by position coaches or Tim Banks, the defensive coordinator. I think that's a little bit of the offensive head coach, sort of just naming names of guys that he saw in a scrimmage that had ended 15 minutes earlier. Maybe there's more to it than that, but even Josh Heupel said, he said, well, I got to look at the film. In other words, I didn't watch the corners very much. I watched my offense, and I think that was my takeaway from that comment.
Adam, what does the addition of Lynn-J Dixon do to the running back room, do you think, and where exactly do you think he fits in?
Not a lot of places right now. I mean, it gives them another body. You know, I'll be curious to see how long they wait on him. I mean, you could tell he was a little out of place when he got here. I mean, he played 4 seasons at Clemson. He can run the ball. He knows how to do that. He's a change of pace back when he ever gets out there. But, you know, I mean, you have to know this offense. You have to be adjusted to the tempo, and it shocks a lot of people when they get into it. It's one thing to see. It's another thing to get out there and do it. And everybody else now, after being in it a year, is all running at 100 miles an hour, and you're not. Last year, at least, everybody was sort of, you know, going at the same speed and speeding up as you go. That whole offense goes fast, and if you're not ready for it, you're going to be left behind. And the freshmen were already ready for it. Dylan Sampson was here in the summer. Justin Williams-Thomas was an early enrollee, so he went through spring. So you can just see the sort of the contrast between them. He could later in the year, though. But also that's going to be dictated by the health of the running backs and how those freshmen do. Because if Justin Williams-Thomas or Dylan Sampson look good, Lynn-J Dixon's not really going to get a shot. It would take some injuries. We saw last year that could happen, but it's more of what they can do, not what he can add.
So is it good or bad that left tackle per Heupel may go into the season?
I mean, it's not great. I appreciate that he's honest in saying that they're both going to play because they're not super confident in either. I mean, game day is the easiest way to see who wins a position if you don't really know in camp. And Gerald Mincey looks the part a little more so, but who cares who looks the part? You know, Jeremiah Crawford played some last year, didn't play great, but they said that's because he was injured. He got in there late. He's junior college transfer. He just was not a guy that had a lot of time to get into it. So they'll see a game day. I mean, the Ball State game, they'll both play a lot. Whoever grades out the best will get the majority of snaps against Pittsburgh. So the Ball State game is essentially the preseason for whoever that left tackle is. But I do appreciate it because they could easily just name a guy and say this is the guy and them not really know and have to swap up when they get to the season. They're sort of admitting right now they just don't know.
Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News Sentinel, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Adam, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
You as well. Adam Sparks, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll continue the conversation on the Vols. Got some Vandy takeaways from Joe Rexrode to get to as well coming up.
Scrimmage action.
Yeah, buddy. All of that ahead. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now at Lowe's, order any flooring like Stainmaster Pet Protect carpet, starting at $185 per square foot. See in-store associate or product detail page for warranty information.
Are you ready for this?
You've never seen the PBR
like this. Buckle up for the ultimate weekend in Western sports as the PBR Team Series invades Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, August 19th through the 21st. 8 teams, 3 days, 1 champion. Don't miss your chance to watch history as it's made. Get your tickets now at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. PBR Team Series. Bull riding will never be the same.
I'm Cindy Mae Johnson from Mountaintop Media in Pikeville, Kentucky. You may have seen or heard about the flash flood disaster our people have suffered, but I promise you no news story can accurately convey how much help is needed. Lives have been lost, homes destroyed. If you're willing or able to help even a little, donate to the East Kentucky Dream Center on Venmo or at ekdc.raisegiving.com. That's ekdc.raisegiving.com. Thank you.
If you've got a yard, you may plan on digging in it. Like to build an addition, put in a pool, or bury your pirate booty. But you should know that throughout the country, there may be pipelines buried underground. And if you hit one, you've got trouble. Sorry. So before you dig, call 811 to have any buried pipelines located and marked at no charge. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
After redshirting his first year at Ohio State, Joe Burrow spent the next 2 years as J.T. Barrett's backup. With Dwayne Haskins on the roster, Burrow didn't see much playing time and decided to transfer. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron zeroed in on Burrow and landed him. In his second season at LSU, Burrow led the Tigers to a 15-0 record, a national championship, and arguably the best season ever by a college quarterback.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
When your college football team talks to the right recruits, anything is possible. And the same is true for your business, because when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 810 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to the most qualified candidates so you can start hiring the right people. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Tennessee Byway.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to Adam Sparks for joining us in the last segment. JC in Goodlettsville on the text line says, welcome back, Robby. Since Joe Milton is projected as the starter at QB in 2023, any early Heisman hype out there?
Let it be stated for the record, we did not ask Adam Sparks. I have not brought up Joe Milton. You brought up Joe Milton. But if you're going to bring up Joe Milton, let's have a quote from Josh Heupel.
He did talk about him yesterday.
Through practice, he's been a better decision maker. Better command of what we're doing offensively. Strides you would hope and think he needs to take and is capable of. He's taking better care of the football. A lot of things we've asked of him, just growing up and becoming a mature person and player that we need inside that room and in that position inside this program. He's taking some of those strides. There's a bunch left out there for him. You guys know he has the arm talent to make some really special throws. But I think all in all, in the 2 scrimmages, he's had really good command and presence in what we've done. End quote. So he's Heisman odds for next year. Yeah, let's put him at 8-1.
Minus 150. Just go ahead and make him the runaway favorite for next year. It is interesting. I agree with Adam, and that's kind of why I led off that way with Adam in the last segment. I thought Heupel's answer on the receiving corps is pretty interesting yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like obviously they feel good about Tillman. I think they feel pretty good about Hyatt. And after that, I don't know that they feel all that great.
Yeah, because like a guy like Chaz Nimrod, for example, I think they really are excited about him down the road. But this happens all the time. And, in the NFL, rookies in the NFL often make a difference. Sometimes they don't. But, like a lot of times you see a rookie after a few weeks, if they're up, if they're good enough to be in the NFL, they make a difference. But they've also gone through college football. Freshmen in college football are so often overestimated, right? Like Squirrel White, love his name. his speed, I thought he looked great out there in individuals on the first day of camp, but there's so much more to it. And if you're a little banged up and you're slight and you need a year in the weight room, et cetera, all of a sudden you go down that depth chart. And, yeah, with Brew McCoy, and that's the hard part, is I think if they felt like they had him, they'd probably be, McCoy, Hyatt, Tillman, and you're going to roll with those three, and then we'll see if other people can get in there. But it's a great point by Sparks that typically it's kind of surprising when you think about this offense. You're like, you go so fast, you run so many plays. Of course, you got to rotate receivers in, right? But the thing is, you also have to execute at such a high level. They basically pick their guys, and then that's who they throw to.
The second half of last year, I mean, it was three guys playing wide receiver pretty much.
It was Jones, Peyton, and Tillman. Yeah, pretty much getting all the reps. So the McCoy thing's really interesting. That's a big deal, and I still think to some extent, like you'll see a little score away. I think Jimmy Callaway might be part of the answer. And look, Walker Merrill. A lot of people talking about Walker Merrill. I think a guy who could get out there and give him a little bit of help. But Brew McCoy looks like a guy who could really be, a plus player.
Dave in Big Rock on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, let's all agree that when Chaz Nimrod's football career is over, he immediately gets a spot on Robby and Rexrode. I think we could do that.
I mean,
great name, all-name team. They got a couple guys on the all-name team.
Yeah,
Tennessee. Nimrod
and Squirrel
White.
What if you had Squirrel Nimrod? Like that, mind blown. Like
that name, that'd be iconic.
Every NIL deal possible is his. Like Fulkerson has to give up his NIL stuff to Squirrel Nimrod if he existed.
I'm pulling heavily for Chaz Nimrod. Really am.
Yeah, no,
it's a great football name.
It's a great name. It's a great name, period. And I'm telling you, Chaz Nimrod next year, I think Joe Milton's gonna be finding him streaking down the sideline a few times. But I'm just projecting ahead a little bit.
That's right. Joe, you were at a Vanderbilt scrimmage over the weekend. What were some things that stood out to you about the Commodores, other than, as multiple people on Twitter pointed out, they were not scrimmaging on their own field?
They were not. They were scrimmaging at Ensworth, which the first time I've been to Ensworth, damn.
Very nice.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I've been to, I think, most of the private schools around here. Other than that one, whew, that place is pretty sweet. And, of course, Vanderbilt, they're doing they're resurfacing the field, which they need, which is good. And then they're also doing an end zone stuff for some of their renovations and improvements and premium seating and all that stuff. So, yes, they were over there for the scrimmage. The first takeaway I have is that, wow, did they hit hard. Like tackling to the ground, full-on tackle football. And so after daily being out with Titans, where that just doesn't happen, I'm like, man. Three quarterbacks. So you can always look at that and say, so, tough day for the defense. You had some moments. B.J. Anderson, I really like him. At corner, I think he's going to help. I think he's going to be a good player this year for them. There were some defensive moments, but Skinner, McGowan, these receivers, I like a lot. And again, all the quarterbacks, Mike Wright, I think he's going to start that opener. By the way, the tackling, kind of makes sense. I mean, they play a football game a week from Saturday.
Yeah.
So they've got to get ready. I thought Mike Wright had a lot of good moments, and obviously he's a huge play waiting to happen. He had a couple throws you want back, and you can't have those throws you want back in games. I thought Ken Seals was really good. Ken Seals probably the best of the three, I would say, just in terms of throwing the ball. But A.J. Swan, the freshman, got to keep the brakes, got to keep the foot close to the brakes here. Watch him in one scrimmage. I know that in the spring a lot of people were excited about him. I really like what he could be someday as a quarterback. I think there's a lot there, and some real escapability. I don't know that he's going to be a dual threat necessarily, but really like his feet in the pocket and his the ball's out and it's accurate with some zip on it. So good day for them. I just look at Vanderbilt and. They're very banged up front defensively, And that's not where you want to be. I don't know when Davion Davis is going to be back, but he's kind of, a little bit of a heart and soul guy there. And so having him out is not great. And they're going to have to figure things out, defensively with their front when they're going up against good football teams. Their defense, I just don't know. They've got some of the young guys in there. Darren Agoof, the big-time recruit, former Notre Dame commit. How much is he going to matter this year? Yeah, I don't know. Again, freshman. Big-time recruit, big-time prospect, talent is going to be a difference maker at Vanderbilt, but will he right away? Probably asking a lot.
Do you still think that there's a chance you could see both Seals and Wright this year? And not from an injury standpoint or anything like that, but that being part of the plan, that you could see Wright and then Seals takes over at some point in the game and they go back to two quarterbacks, or do you think it's going to be the Mike Wright show until proven otherwise this year?
I think it only happens if – I don't think there's going to be rotating.
I guess the better way to phrase that question is there anything Ken Seals can do in the next couple of weeks to get him on the field?
I don't think so. I think Mike Wright's going to start at quarterback at Hawaii. However, at some point, if Mike Wright isn't efficient and isn't moving the offense, isn't winning games that they could potentially win, or at least giving him a chance in some games, I think certainly you could see him. But I really will be surprised if Vanderbilt – now, look, in fact, we were talking about this. Mitch Light went with me over there to the scrimmage the other day, talking about that possibility. And to me, it's like I just don't see like 3 bad series and then here comes Ken Seals. I don't see that. Now, let's say you're in the fourth quarter and they're down 10 and it's just been a bad day for Mike Wright. Well, you've got a guy who's started for you who can play quarterback. Okay. And at some point, like especially in these few Saturdays where they can actually win games this year, you got to do whatever you can do to win. But I think Mike Wright's going to get the full the full look as a starter who knows he's the starter, who gets a whole game and a whole game plan and the offense built around his skills. And I think that's the right thing to do. I think you have to give that the full look.
I think so too. It's interesting to have, and we talked about this with Tennessee, and kind of joking around about the Joe Milton thing. Vanderbilt's got some quarterback depth too, right in their backyard. Of Ken Seals has played, so yeah, we got there's 2 programs in the SEC that we focus in on the most because of the local ties here, and both of them have been able to do something to different degrees that's very hard to do in college football nowadays with a quarterback room.
Yeah, have former starters stay to be backups. You do not see that much, and I know that in Knoxville we see Joe Milton because of an injury,
right?
Or I guess Hendon Hooker just totally falls off the table performance-wise. Here it is different. Here, I mean, it's at some point there could be a switch. I think Mike Wright's come a long way. I'm really, really interested to see what he does in a game and in a full game. And it's a good opportunity for them. Hawaii's not great. It's on the road. It's not easy. I think they're almost going to have a week out there before the game to be acclimated. They're putting everything into winning this game. And if he wins it, makes winning plays, and I think you may have something, and that's where he locks up, I think, this job even more if he can play well. But I'm confident he's getting that game.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we'll get back into the Titans' backup quarterback situation coming up next. Some interesting comments yesterday from offensive coordinator Todd Downing. We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hi, I'm UC Saros. And this is Nashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by UC Saros there.
Unreal. You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Discover matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Automatically. Discover. Something brighter. Learn more at discover.com/match.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious largest gym lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Somebody company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezvik, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. I got a 4-pack of tickets to give away to the PBR Stampede Days coming up at Bridgestone Arena this Friday. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 3 will win a 4-pack of tickets to the PBR Stampede Days at Bridgestone Arena coming up this Friday, 615-737-1025. Some interesting comments from Todd Downing, Titans offensive coordinator, yesterday on Malik Willis and the backup quarterback situation. Here's what Todd Downing had to say yesterday at media availability.
You got to see Malik in live game action. What's your take as far as like how he was able to process things, the operation, and pretty much everything else?
Yeah, I think there was some good and some room for improvement. I thought he showed timing and accuracy in some throws, and then there were a couple where I'm sure he wished he had it back, and pulled the trigger on a couple things. But overall, there was growth. He did a nice job running the line of scrimmage and huddle procedure and protection checks and things like that. So a lot of good, and then obviously some stuff that we got to fine tune.
So that was Todd Downing yesterday at Titans media availability, talking about Malik Willis. As you said, Joe, a lot of conversation about the backup quarterback position last Friday in the immediate aftermath of the Ravens game.
Very easy show to do.
I'm sure that it was. So what do you make of where both of these guys are in Logan Woodside and Malik Willis? Because there was a comment yesterday that Downing had that I thought kind of illustrated where this battle stands at the moment. And he was asked basically about, the backup quarterback battle, and said basically it's about coming in and being able to run the offense on a moment's notice. And that, to me, we've talked about the studying that Logan Woodside does and how much Vrabel values that. I know Logan Woodside didn't play particularly well last week, but that kind of told me that that's what they value the most, and they feel pretty good about Woodside being able to do that. What do you make of this quote-unquote competition between Woodside and Willis and where it stands as of today?
I believe there's still a pretty sizable gap. I know some people don't want to hear that, but I believe there's still a pretty sizable gap when it comes to who's going to be the number 2 quarterback this year. I think Woodside still has a pretty good lead on Willis. And, look, this is where – remember going into the preseason game, I was like, our value reduces some. Now that people get to see preseason games, you get to see some of these guys play. We're the eyes and ears at camp, and then you get games, and then everybody can see what it is. But here's an example of, like, don't overreact to a few snaps in one preseason game relative to daily out there. There's a difference. There's a gap. There should be. It's not a surprise. So, I said it Friday, I've opened my mind to the possibility that in the next 4 weeks, if Malik Willis just takes leaps, and Logan Woodside is bad, which, by the way, you can't give the ball to the other team. He made some bad throws in that game.
No, that's the number one job of the backup quarterback is take care of the football.
Yeah. So if they go in different directions and Willis is just better than him, fine. Then I think it's something to talk about. But I think a lot of people are taking the leap right now that, like, it should be Willis, and that's a mistake. It's not true. And look, Willis's performance Thursday, again, I thought it was encouraging because he made some plays, and you could see the ability. You can see where he could be as a player. You can easily go ahead and pick through that film, and we talked about Trevor Maddich on Dylan Radins being launched into the sun by I mean, you could easily go ahead and find the analysis that Malik Willis is miles, light years away from being an NFL quarterback based on some of the throws he didn't make or throws he missed. I mean, it's however you want to look at it. Encouraging night overall. I'm opening my mind to that a little bit. It's going to take a lot for him to actually leapfrog Logan Woodside. And I know the text line is about to react to that, and I'm sorry. That's just what it is, man.
I'll say this. From what I saw of Willis last Thursday, there are moments, there are throws, and certainly the touchdown run. I mean, that stands out, obviously. But there are moments in the game where he does some things, and you look around and you say, well, all right, Logan Woodside can't do that. Like, he's not even close. Like, the talent-wise, I don't think is particularly close when it comes to Woodside and Willis. But that's not – I think that's not all that it's about, right? Playbook, can you be decisive with the ball? Like, do you know the offense? Do you know where to go with the football? Do you know the reads? Like, there's so many different things that you have to go through. And I think it's good that Willis was able to make some of those plays. But to your point, there's also – there's the freeze frame that's been out there all weekend of Traylon Burks just streaking down the field wide open, and Malik Willis never saw him, didn't throw the ball. I mean, there's a lot of things decision-wise in terms of getting rid of the football and being decisive of where to go with it that I think he still has to work on. I mean, Vrabel talked about, him taking him out of the game because he wanted to let it rip, and he didn't do it. Like, those are things that you have to work on. So talent-wise, like, I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, the sidearm throw that Malik Willis made the other day, like, Logan Woodside's probably not doing that.
That was nice.
It's pretty nice. So
yeah.
I think there's a lot to be encouraged about from Malik Willis, but those two things I think you have to separate. Like, that's part of it, but it's not all of it when it comes to the backup quarterback discussion.
At some point, I feel confident in saying that at some point Malik Willis would clearly be a better option as a number 2 quarterback than Logan Woodside. Logan Woodside's ceiling is as a backup quarterback in the NFL. And it's a great story that he's entrenched himself as a backup quarterback in the NFL. I mean, good for him. But that's his ceiling. Malik Willis' ceiling is being a good NFL starting quarterback. No idea if he'll get there, get close to it, approach it. I don't know. But that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, he just has a lot more. And it's just very early in the process. And probably don't talk about it enough, but, the Liberty offense, not that the Liberty offense is on an island in college football, but it is one of those, look to the sideline, here's what the coverage is, here's what the play is, run that play. Every play.
Yeah.
Never huddle. And in the NFL, you huddle and you got to, there's a whole part of the job that's running the huddle as a quarterback too, by the way. It's just, it's a huge difference than, say, coming from, like, I'm trying to think of, like, what are the best, like, pro-style offenses in college football right now? That are, I mean, there's
somewhat Georgia. Depends on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, Georgia's a good example.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a leg up if you're from one of those offenses. Hugh Freeze's offense, that's definitely it's something to overcome when you go to the NFL. It's just reality.
Yeah. Shane from Ashland City on the text line says, I feel like Willis's pocket awareness was phenomenal, but quarterback vision down the field, not great yet. Megan on the text line says, if Woodside's best quality is how he studies, then maybe he ought to be the backup in Arizona. He could be a great asset to Kyler Murray.
But we don't know how good he is at Call of Duty, so it could actually be detrimental.
Imagine how much advice Woodside can give Kyler Murray next week. Like, hey, man.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is how you study some film.
Yes. Totally. Yeah. I think that would be very well received. But I agree with Shane, like pocket awareness and pocket escapability. There's speed and everything, but there's also the ability to quickly elude someone, and then whatever happens after that. And that's one thing I saw for sure is, boy, he is tough to corral, and like you said, on one of those plays, he extends the play, and the only way he can get that ball to Hudson is with the little sidearm flip. Now, that stuff's great. I mean, there's a lot there. There's no doubt. It's just I like TD's. Turn, slow cooking. It's just it has to be. They knew it was going to have to be, and it is. And it's possible that in a few weeks they'd be like, you know what, he's a better option. But right now, especially the way this team is built, as we've talked about a million times, a team that does have a good defense, that should still be in games even if it isn't doing a ton on offense, that has Derrick Henry, the safe game manager QB makes sense as your backup quarterback.
Dave on the text line says, what I saw was the Titans need to go get a Fitzmagic type. I don't think either of those guys can win a professional football game. It's coming from Dave on the text line.
Right. So the way Logan Woodside can win a professional football game is by handing off, making quick, simple throws, move the chains, not turning the ball over, and just being that veteran, being that Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
Because this team is good enough defensively and the way it runs the ball. That's how he can win a professional football game. That's where I think he has the edge right now. They're on different tracks, but there's also a big difference in how and one's experience to the other.
Well, if it's Willis, and Downing talked about this a little bit yesterday, like there are certain skill sets that he brings to the table where if it's a game week, they'd have to tailor the plan a little bit differently if it's Willis or if it's Woodside. So, that's part of this too is, you look at Willis right now, how quickly can he get to where the game plan in terms of what they're asking him to do doesn't have to change all that much because he's ready to be decisive and make those throws. Like, that's part of the growing process too.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure it'd be different in a good way with him because you can utilize some of what he does. But you also don't want to do that a ton with any NFL quarterback unless your offense is completely built around that like the Ravens is.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, it is time for the Rex Rant. Joe Rexrode's rant of the day. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. The NFL Week 1 odds are out, and now's the time to try FanDuel Sportsbook if you haven't already. Get in on the action early this season. Right now, new FanDuel Sportsbook customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. So maybe you like Derrick Henry to win the rushing title this year. I think he's got the edge over Jonathan Taylor, but you take it any way you want to take it. Just sign up using promo code ROB, place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. There's no better place to get ready for the football season than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station. station. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Join 102.5 The Game, Brentwood Fire and Police, the Williamson County Sheriff's Department, and the Nolensville Fire and Rescue for the 9th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, Wednesday, August 17th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Brentwood Library on Concord Road. This year's blood drive will be in memory of Williamson County Deputy Chandler Rowe. Support the 9th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, Wednesday, August 17th, sponsored by BL Harbert International.
Hey, it's Big Joe on the go. Look, I get it. Nobody likes being in a car accident, but when that happens, make it easy on yourself and call Apple Collision Centers so you don't have to stress. They're locally owned with 3 convenient locations in O'Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Apple Collision Centers managers combined for 60-plus years experience, and they only recommend original equipment parts on your vehicle. So, if you're in need of a repair today or down the road, just head over to Apple Collision Centers. Stan and his team will take great care of you. Online, applecollisioncenters.com.
Chase McCabe.
My play didn't work for him, and the way he coached didn't work for me.
Willie Donick.
It's survival of the fittest.
And Derek Mason.
A win-win-win across the board.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. The time is now for the Rex Rant.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
On Robby and Rexrode, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Do you have to leave?
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode here on Robby and Rexrode. A little bit of singing coming back for Rexrode as well. Rexrode is coming off a great weekend.
I don't know which NCOT B member this is right now. Is this Joey? Is this Joey singing this part? I think it is.
You're coming off a great weekend at Nissan Stadium.
Well, you know, I by the way, which is the song that Chili Peppers ended with, which was pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, that show that might be the best stage show that I've seen since Pink Floyd, and I like their setup. But also the Strokes were great, and Julian Casablancas said, "Congratulations on your future legend quarterback Malik Willis." To the crowd. And then he said something like, he's gonna be the you guys haven't had a cool quarterback in a while, or something like that. That he may have been altered a bit during his set. Still sounded good, but I thought that was interesting. He shout out to Malik Willis for
no cool quarterbacks. Tannehill's not cool.
Yeah, I guess
Marcus wasn't cool.
Fitz man. What about
Charlie Whitehurst,
Mettenberger? Come on, man, a lot of cool guys. But that was cool, and it was a great weekend. Thank you for mentioning it. It was pretty amazing. But I want to rant today about what a big baby Mark Stoops is, and because I think people are totally wrong about this. So I guess I'm gonna rant in defending John Calipari, but I'm sorry. So you're excited? I want you to get mad that I'm ripping Mark Stoops.
No.
You have to be. You can't be totally happy. You have to be partially mad about your football coach because he's a baby. He's a baby.
It really doesn't.
So hold on now. Hold on. Calipari, he does what coaches do all the time. Like he's trying to get money for a facility, right? So he says a very obvious thing, right? I mean, is there anything wrong with what he said?
No.
It's a basketball school. So Mark Stoops, and then people are mad at him. I think people just have to be mad at him because they don't like him. Like they're just jump on Calipari. And Mark Stoops is likable guy, and he's one of the Stoopses, and Look what he's done with the program and all this stuff. What is he crying about? I mean, he goes on Twitter and like, I thought we were in the SEC, and then he's doing all this. He takes 2 shots at Calipari, which, again, I'm here for all of it. I'm not mad about any of it. I'm happy. We all love this, okay? But he takes the shot of 4 straight postseason wins, because they lost to St. Peter's. I mean, that's what he meant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he does the program born on third base, which is,
twist that knife a little
I
bit.
didn't I didn't see that one.
So that was actually what he said, right?
Yeah.
He actually said that. He didn't tweet it. All right, I'm going to find it. Hold on. I'm going to find the exact quote. But yes, that was the one of all the things he said, like, I'm going to defend my players, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, here we go. It was him at the presser. Says, quote, "This program wasn't born on third base. Some may, but I can promise you this football team didn't wake up on third base. I did a lot of work. We did a lot of work." End quote.
Right, yeah.
Dude.
Shots fired.
Yeah. But so I don't understand. And then Calipari comes back from the Bahamas and is like, what do you say? Like, I'm Italian. I speak my mind or whatever. I said too much. I'm sorry. So he fell on the knife, apologized, and I just don't to me, Calipari does not deserve any of this crap. And Mark Stoops, I look at Mark Stoops differently. I'm sorry. I think the Tennessee program is absolutely better than the Kentucky program.
You finally come around.
Whoa.
His program has dropped a couple notches in my eyes. I'm sorry, Mark Stoops. Weak.
Well, and then the AD, Mitch Barnhart, had to do a press conference too.
Yeah, which didn't seem to help anything. And by the way, I'm looking at some shade from him too.
Yes.
What did he say? He's like, if you don't like it, you can leave, right? Yeah. Basically.
That would be
going on
stupid.
there?
The Kentucky athletic department coming apart at the seams, baby.
So here's what's the problem. So the football team is getting a new facility. They're in the works of building it, right? So they just gave like $25 million to them. Okay. Good. You guys have been successful. Okay, cool. Get a new practice facility. Now, Cal obviously wants to do this whole museum in the base, whatever, which I don't really think you need recruiting-wise now just because you have NIL and there's just so many different things. But whatever. Okay, you want one too. You're Kentucky basketball. You should get one. I think Mark Stoops is butthurt that he's finally and this is just speculation, but he's finally getting something and that team has never gotten respect and he's probably just sick of it. But I didn't see all that third base, all that stuff because like I said, I took a Twitter hiatus this weekend and I need to catch up. But I just saw the first. I had to. And then I saw these Louisville people yesterday, and I just couldn't get enough of it. But listen, I'll defend Calipari always. So.
Okay, so who are you picking? So right now,
I didn't see
you have to pick one of them to continue as the coach of your program. Who are you picking?
There's some hesitation here. I thought Calipari was God's gift to coaching.
I guess not, huh?
I actually don't know about that one.
Look, someone could argue, which is apparently what Mark Stoops thinks. Someone could argue, well, you really have to screw it up to not win at Kentucky. You got everything you would ever need. It's an absolute blue blood.
Is that an arguable point?
No. Now, granted, and I'm a huge fan of Tubby Smith as a human being, and he's a good coach, but Tubby Smith went in there and didn't want to do some of the stuff that they normally do in the recruiting world, and it didn't work out great for him. And so, you can't – and let's not even mention what's his name from freaking Texas A&M. What the heck did he do? Let's just have a porno house and not go to work. Yeah. So, you can screw it up. People have screwed it up.
Yeah, but
But there's a lot of, I think, good coaches that if you make a solid hire could go in there and probably win a lot.
Yeah, and then you look at Kentucky football, and it's they had 2 wins, 6, 7 years ago consistently? And now, I don't know. I plead the fifth on this one. Plead the fifth.
It kind of sounds like Stoops is the coach that she's going with in there.
I think so.
My head is telling me Stoops, but my heart is telling me Cal.
Okay.
I'm torn.
Well, regardless, I think, yeah, if I had, what would you do, Robby? Let's give you the same question.
Picking the coach?
You're Mitch Barnhart, and it's one of these guys is leaving because of this. So who are you going to court to stay? You have to pick one to stay.
Stoops.
Yeah?
Yeah. You can find a basketball coach that can win at Kentucky.
You can.
You can certainly find a basketball coach that can get put out in the first round by St. Peter's.
Oh, there we go.
That shouldn't be too difficult.
Maybe Tennessee can find one to win a couple games in March.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. See,
I do recall them winning more than Kentucky did in March this year.
Traditionally, no, though. Traditionally, no.
Whenever a Rex rant can bring absolute chaos to the show, it's a beautiful thing. I think I probably.
Joe, who are you picking?
I think I would probably go Stoops.
You know my favorite part about this? My favorite part about this is Mitch Barnhart saying, quote, talking about the media, you look to create stories and it becomes the fact.
Dude, thank you.
Did the media do this?
Thank you for saying that. I don't know how the heck I failed to acknowledge that. What a bunch of crap. I mean, seriously.
Like, buddy, your coach is the one that said this. This has nothing to do with the media.
Yeah.
Also, Mitch, you did not even need a presser.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
It didn't
solve
help.
nothing.
But, yeah, I mean, Kyle Tucker had full access to Kentucky and the Bahamas. Hopefully he got a couple pina coladas in there too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Cal wanted to say this. Cal's campaigning like coaches do. And, yeah, what he said, I guess, was a little too much. I still think Stoops was a huge baby on this. But, yeah, come on, Mitch. Yeah, the media is creating this. I love that. It's just the obvious. Just go to that. Just say that. There's enough people that are just going to be like, oh, yeah, you got it.
That's right.
You know, you'll have enough people who just blindly agree with you without actually looking at the situation that you can get away with saying that. But how stupid.
And just listening to the quotes from the coaches.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, did you not see who started this? It was not the media.
But anyway,
it was John.
It is a beautiful thing. But I just feel like there was way too much anger at Cal on this when I'm like, the gasoline was poured by Stoops. Little bit of a misspeak, and you got to defend it. I know he recruits against that, but you know what? If you're Kentucky football, you have to be embracing Kentucky basketball. You have to.
You have to.
You have to embrace it and say, yeah, come here and you can go to the hoops games. Like, I mean, that's what the identity of the athletic department is. That. So I know you're fighting against that perception, but then again, embrace it.
Does this kind of signal maybe some bad blood between Calipari and Stoops, especially from Stoops' point of view?
It has to, right?
Because on the surface, this seems like a pretty small thing to get that fired up about if you're Stoops. Like, I feel like if they had a good relationship, even if you had a problem with it, you could go up to him and be like, hey, man, what are you doing?
Text him.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing, man? Stop.
Yeah,
I feel
clearly this is not a
I feel like it has
relationship.
been brewing for Mark Stoops, and he's traditionally like a guy who doesn't speak out. To be honest, I didn't even know he really had a Twitter. And then I feel like this one comment just unleashed, like Robby said, a whole bunch of things that have maybe pissed him off in the past, and he let it rip.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Kentucky.
Mark.
So now they're gonna go undefeated this year. That's what that means. Kentucky football.
Mm-hmm.
Book it.
Mm-hmm. Must be, yeah. Well, they better go undefeated, or Cal's gonna tweet something about it, I guess. Still a good program, though.
615-737-1025. This is the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. Coming up next, we'll get to Corey Curtis from News 2, get his thoughts on the Titans as they head into Bucs week here, with the Tom Brady-less Buccaneers coming in this week for joint practices. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Soundswind.
We talk the game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Some people were made to follow the instructions. We were made to make our own. To always measure twice and never cut corners. Unless, of course, we've got a compound miter saw. Northern Tool and Equipment is a problem solver's paradise. There's nothing we can't find, fix, or figure out together. We're made for this. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and pay time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Need an appliance? Shop the new Appliance Truckload event at Lowe's. Going on now. From refrigerators and ranges to dishwashers and laundry pairs, we have a large selection of appliances from the brands you trust. Plus, get store-wide savings by shopping other in-stock categories. Go to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowes.com to shop the Appliance Truckload event and find what you need now. While supplies last, valid through 8/17. Need an appliance? Shop the new Appliance Truckload event at Lowe's. Going on now. From refrigerators and ranges to dishwashers and laundry pairs, we have a large selection of appliances from the brands you trust. Plus, get store-wide savings by shopping other in-stock categories. Go to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowes.com to shop the Appliance Truckload event and find what you need now. While supplies last, valid through 8/17.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Still in company. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 3, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our good friend Corey Curtis from News 2. Corey, what's going on? How we doing?
Just getting rolling for another week, fellas. How are you?
We are doing great. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. So, Corey, let's start on the Malik Willis front. What did you make of his performance against Baltimore last Thursday? And where is he, from your eye, from watching him, in terms of where you expected him to be at this point?
Well, I mean, it'll be boring, but, I mean, to me it was all, kind of predictable. I expected to see, the kind of sensational, and I expected to see, stuff where you're like, yeah, that needs to get better. I mean, you would kind of expect that, from any rookie, but especially one who has dynamic running ability. He made plays with his legs. He made a couple plays with his arms. And obviously he needs to learn to see the field a little bit better and let it fly better, because that's the position. I know the position's to win games, make plays, lead the team, but you got to be able to function within the offense, and he's learning that. And we all knew he was going to have to learn that, just about any other rookie was going to have to do. So, I mean, that it's not all that surprising to me. I mean, I guess I would say he's about where I would expect him to be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I figured that an actual football game, you must try to tackle this person, was going to be a good thing for him, And
absolutely.
And
I thought the game environment would really suit him.
So right now, Corey, percentage chance, Logan Woodside is the backup quarterback to start the season compared to Malik Willis of 100%. Where are you on that?
I don't know, like 80 or 90.
80, 90 Woodside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they trust him. That's all there is to it. He's been the backup for 2 years. He's taken on all comers, and he's won. And that's not saying Logan Woodside's a better quarterback than Malik Willis. It's saying he's got more experience in the offense. It's saying he knows what they want him to do, and they trust him to do it. And, he can make everything around them function, as well as he can with his skill set. And so they know what they're getting. If they need a guy to go out there and make plays, Malik could be the guy. But if they need someone to run the offense, he's probably better suited for that right now, or at least they trust him more to do that right now.
Yeah, though, if he throws it to the other team too many times, maybe that changes. But, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. All right, so I hot taked this, so I want to get your I want to get your take on my hot take. I think that right now, this is what I say, because it is a very careful hot take. But right now, if they started the season today, Racey McMath would have a bigger role in the offense than Traylon Burks. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Fair enough.
I think so. I mean, look, I talked about it during the broadcast. You look at Racey, and, I mean, he looks smart, right? I mean, he's 6'3", 220, 4'3", 40. I mean, he looks even better without pads on than he does with pads on. He's a really physically gifted guy, and maybe he's just a late bloomer, but he's never been a guy who's put up big numbers. I mean, not at LSU. When they drafted him, what did we all say about him? Drafted to be a special teams player.
Yep.
Okay. That doesn't mean he can't go on to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I'm not that silly of a person. I'm silly, but I'm not that silly. And so, he has come on and he is making plays, and I am excited for him and excited for the team to see that. But, Traylon Burks was drafted, 18th overall? And they were willing to trade away A.J. Brown, in part because they could still get him. He is a big, big part of their plans. And, I would expect, and look, there were points where he was open in that football game. They just got to get him the ball. So I would, and that doesn't mean McMath isn't going to make plays for him, or they're not going to take shots for him. I just think when it comes down to it, Burks is going to get more opportunities here when the season gets rolling.
Yeah, this season I think overall he absolutely will. But anyway, that's my little. I'm looking at reps in practice too, but we'll see.
If he makes 2 catches a game for 50 yards, that's a big impact.
Yeah,
that's a big impact, because that would be at least one chunk play. And if he could give the Titans one chunk play a game, that would be huge.
No doubt.
Corey Curtis from News 2 on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Corey, to that point, what do you make of the camp that Traylon Burks has had thus far? Obviously, he got off to a great start, and he was turning heads every day. It does feel like it's quieted down a little bit from Traylon Burks. Overall, where do you think he is at this point?
I think one of the real positives, what was the biggest question we had about him coming into camp? It was his availability, right?
Yep.
Has he been available every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good. He's out there every day. He's working. He's getting through practices, hot or cold, rainy or windy, snowy or whatever. It doesn't matter. He's been out there, and he's been practicing. Does he need to be more consistent? Yeah. Do most rookies need to be more consistent? Heck yeah. I wouldn't get all worked up over the production. You like to see it. Obviously, you'd like to see some production, but there's a lot of things that go into that. Roddy Bourne, the Titans media guy, I don't know if he texted you guys this information as well. He sent me the preseason totals for Corey Davis and A.J. Brown, their rookie years. You know how many combined receptions those guys had in the preseasons of their rookie years?
I do not.
I thought Corey had none, right? Was he even playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had none, and A.J. had 1.
There you go.
So in 8 games, those guys had 1 reception in the preseason, and both guys, turned out to be pretty good players.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like I said, I don't freak out, especially like over one game, one way or another. And also, I look to see, is he open? Is he doing the things that he needs to do, to kind of make things happen? Also, like I said, it's his first game. Who's he working with? You know, and that's not a slight on Malik. But, you know, Malik got taken out because he wouldn't pull the trigger. All right. And so, you know, it'll be interesting to see how Malik reacts to that. But I certainly think, you know, I think Traylon's camp has been more positive than negative for sure. Has it been dynamic? It was that first day when he made that diving catch, you know, right off the grab. And we've seen the ability to make plays. And, you know, as he gets more comfortable and more confident, you know, I'm very confident we'll see more of that.
No, I agree. Look, the game is not meaningless, but it doesn't mean a ton. I do out there daily feel like Burks maybe has hit a bit of a wall or something. I thought like the first week or so, you know, it was wow, and it's not as much now. But I think this is a really big week for him, you know, in those practices. Yeah. I also think it's a huge week at right tackle. So where are you there? We've talked earlier in the show. I mean, Trevor Maddich on Jared's show was basically made it sound like Dylan Radin should never try to block another human in his life. I like Petit Frere's potential here down the road, but it's also another thing where, like, at week one, is he going to actually leapfrog him? I don't know, but where do you think they are? And not just the competition, but just the level of play of those two guys. Do you think it's good enough?
Well, I think Petit Frere's going to be okay. Like you said, I think the level of athlete that he is and his cerebral ability, I mean, that dude's really smart. I mean, I don't know if fans can understand how intellectual that guy is. He is a different breed of cat. I mean, you talk to him, it's not often when you feel totally outsmarted when you talk to these guys. And I'm just like, talk to him, I'm overmatched. You know, this guy uses words I haven't heard of, so I'm in trouble. So I think we need to see that mean streak, you know, from Petit Frere. We need to see that go out and, you know that David Stewart, I'm just going to kill whatever's in front of me attitude. I think Jack Conklin may have had some of that too, and I think, you know, we need to see some of that. But I this will sound rough. I just think there's more talent there. I just think there's more talent and more ability. And as I watch, I continue to think Radins is headed inside at some point.
Corey, last thing for you here. Big win for your Bears in the preseason. Trevor Siemian looked pretty good out there. Just saying.
Trevor, yeah, well, you know, it's a homecoming game for him. He's Western Wildcat, you know, so you can't stop him. And we know to read into preseason results. I mean, no one knows better than Joe Rexrode and the Lions how important preseason results are. Because the year they went winless, they went 4-0 in the preseason, and they outscored their opponents like 83-20 or something like that.
That's right. Just want to point out the leading receiver for the Bears the other night, Tajay Sharp. 2 catches, 44 yards.
There you go. Yeah, you know, it is. I follow a lot of Bears people on my Twitter feed, and it is amazing to listen to them talk about, like, players on that team and like hype them up. And I'm like, guys, these guys have been in the league and they have never been this. All right, Tajay Sharp, Pringle. You know, these are just guys. These are guys that are lucky to make the back end of the roster, and you're looking at them as possible starters. The Bears are going to stink. There's no way around it. They might be the worst team in the NFL this year, and that might be by design.
Wow.
I don't know.
Really?
No, I mean,
I totally agree.
Look, I mean, they cleared cap space this year by getting rid of Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks, who I love, and I can't believe they got rid of him. But, you know, they cleared a ton of cap space for next year and years beyond. They got rid of older guys because those guys aren't going to be any good by the time this team gets to be good. All right? And those are painful decisions that you have to make, but you have to make them. And so they've cleared all this. So, you know, they knew this year that they were not a contender. All right? And so they cleared cap space, and now they're setting themselves up to be awful and to get Justin Fields a top 10 weapon in the draft or a top 10 lineman in the draft next year. You know, they could potentially, you know, draft 1 through 5 or whatever and get the stud wide receiver or get the left tackle of the future and also be able to spend $100 million plus on other players. And maybe Aaron Rodgers is retired next year.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're ready to go and play. I mean, you can say, oh, well, we're not rebuilding, blah, blah. Look, they gutted it, and for good reason, and they're trying to start over. They know they're going to be bad. They're not trying to be great this year. They're trying to get through this year and keep Justin Fields healthy. That's about it.
Aaron Rodgers may retire, but you got Dan Campbell to deal with. I wouldn't get too comfortable over there.
That's right.
I'm one of these people. I hate the Lions uniforms. I mean, I hate them.
It's like the only good thing about them.
No, I hate them. I think they look like straight out of like 1970s. I mean, it's like Blazing Saddles. I just like And so I hate
Alex
their uniforms.
Karras.
Yeah, Alex Karras, former Lion, and former Blazing Saddles. But I'm excited to watch the Lions this year, which I never thought I would say. But they've got weapons, and I think they could be that team that pushes 9-10 wins and gets on the outskirts of the playoffs.
Yes.
All right.
We'll see if they can do it.
Talking about my Racing McMath hot take. My Lord.
Corey Curtis.
Look, they're in a bad division, all right? Right. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is throwing to me, you, and Robby, and that's about it.
That is true.
All right? And so we'll see what happens.
Corey Curtis from News 2, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Corey, great stuff. Thanks for taking time to be with us.
All right. Thanks, guys. You guys have a great day.
You as well. Corey Curtis, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll get some of Joe's thoughts on that coming up next as well. We'll get into the Traylon Burks discussion. What does Joe make of the camp that Burks has had thus far? All that ahead. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
2, 3, 4, high school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for The Game Blitz, presented by Apple Collision Centers.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
CSX, a growing Fortune 500 logistics company, has immediate openings for freight train conductors. If you're looking for a rewarding career offering paid training at nearly $25 per hour, competitive benefits, and you share a passion for great service, apply today at csx.com/careers. That's csx.com/careers. CSX, committed to supporting military and veteran families and their communities. CSX is an equal opportunity employer.
Stop buying tickets without rewards and start getting more from the only ticketing company that rewards you for buying, Vivid Seats. Buy 10 tickets, the 11th is on us. That's like 10% back every time you buy. And with 100% buyer guarantee and over 100 million tickets sold, that's something to sing, laugh, cheer, scream, buy about. Head to vividseats.com for terms and conditions. Vivid Seats. Life happens live.
Nerds! Here at NerdWallet, we often see people wrestle with financial decisions.
Mike is in the ring, up against his nemesis, indecision. Mike can't decide the best way to save his money, and indecision has him boxed in. But wait, Mike tagged in NerdWallet!
Whew, let's go. With NerdWallet's side-by-side comparisons, you can find a high-yield savings account with interest rates that earn more bank for your buck. So the next time you wrestle with a financial decision, you'll come out on top. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say? Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game at the 9th Annual Brentwood Battle of the Badges Blood Drive this Wednesday from noon to 2 p.m. The Red Cross is in an urgent need of blood. Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. So join us, Brentwood Fire and Police, and the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, and the Fraternal Order of the Police for the 9th Annual Brentwood Battle of the Badges Blood Drive this Wednesday, going on until 6 p.m. at the Brentwood Concord Road Library. Make sure you're aware of that. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, I want to pose the same question to you that we just talked about with Corey Curtis. What do you make of the camp that Treylon Burks has had thus far? He was the story of camp throughout the first week and a half, making some big plays every day. It does feel like that's slowed down a little bit. Obviously not a big preseason game as well, although, you hit him when he's wide open, streaking down the field, maybe the opinion of that preseason game changes a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Overall, what do you make of Treylon Burks, where he is, and the camp that he's had thus far?
Well, it's been a good camp. It's been an encouraging camp, certainly relative to expectations or concerns after the spring. Yeah, it hasn't been as, loud, in the last week or so. So what does that mean? Sometimes it's just like you're not getting the ball as much. I went to the Vanderbilt scrimmage Saturday instead of the Titans had the rare afternoon practice Saturday, so wasn't able to do both. My understanding is Saturday was Kyle Phillips Day. He lit the world up. And some of the red zone stuff, he's really a problem for people. I think he's like young and right now healthy Adam Humphries to this offense. So he's the rookie who's been really excelling lately. Burks, not as much. But, again, I just think overall it's been a good camp. The McMath hot take is also it's not just – first of all, it has nothing to do with the game because, as Corey said, like the stats in preseason games or obviously the outcomes, unit, pass rush. I mean, most of it is really you can't take anything from it. One thing from the game I did take a little bit is Burks, got in a little later, and played late in the game, which I thought was kind of interesting. It doesn't mean he's not important or anything like that, but the McMath hot take is also based on what I'm seeing in practice, like in terms of opportunities and stuff. I think McMath has earned himself more stuff, and we'll see where that goes. But right at this moment, he's earned himself, I think, maybe even some reps that Burks was getting. So we'll see. I think both of them are going to be factors. I do think that by the end of the year, Treylon Burks is going to, be one of the key receivers. I think the hope for Titans fans is it'll end up being Woods and Burks will pass Nick Westbrook-Akina. Almost similar to the backup quarterback discussion. I think Burks' ceiling is higher than him. So, down the road, I think that's clear that, it'll be clear probably that he's, better. But you know what? Right now, there's a gap. There's a big gap between NWI and Treylon Burks, for example. Shouldn't be all that surprising, but it's gonna be a process for him, too. And I think early in the season, who do they trust when they're out there in two tight end? Who do they trust? It's going to be Woods and Westbrook-Akina. And then it's those other – and then Phillips is going to be in those situational moments, right? And then, I think it's McMath and Burks for other reps at this point.
I agree. It also, to me, though, goes back to the weapons on this offense. Who scares you? And that's a conversation we've had all offseason. I really like Nick Westbrook-Akina. I really do. I think he's a good player. I'm not afraid of Nick Westbrook-Akina if I'm a defensive player. Robert Woods, it's different. He's not He's not going to run past you out there, but Robert Woods is crafty. He's really good. So, but are you afraid of Robert Woods? Like Treylon Burks, to me, I still think he can be a guy that maybe even if he's not completely polished, what he can do with the ball in his hands after he catches it, that to me is a weapon I think the Titans need to utilize, and they need to utilize it early on as well.
And I think they will. But you did not mention Racing McMath.
I did not.
When you talked about scaring people. And I promise you, if what we're seeing is going to be a consistent thing,
I need to see it in the regular season from him before I believe.
I understand. That's totally reasonable. It is. But you have starting NFL defensive backs going against all these same guys daily. And you're right. It's got to happen when the games happen. I'm just saying it's been too many times now to dismiss. And too many times, and now the coaches are reacting to that with opportunities. You can't dismiss it. It means something.
I agree. And look, if we talked about the team not having really a deep threat, right? Of not the guy that scares you downfield. Well, if he can be that, I mean, look, we've talked about him from this standpoint ever since he got here in terms of the size and the speed that he brings to the table. You've always liked that with Racing McMath. And I remember one of the things we talked about after he got drafted last year was, okay, he's got this impressive speed. He's got great size. Why has he not been all that productive? Like even at LSU, he wasn't a very productive wide receiver. Now, some of that was because you had, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase in front of you, so you understand that. But even when those two were gone, he wasn't overly productive. So why has that been the case? And if he's now figured something out with that size and that speed, what sort of a weapon can he be? I mean, can he be that guy for the Titans?
Yeah, and again, I guess at this point, I think that by the end of the year, I think Treylon Burks does have, Treylon Burks is, and like Corey said too, I mean, even though I think Vrabel's definitely on the low end of the scale of coaches who would make any decisions based on draft stats. I mean, it's like who can play, who can make a play, get in there. Westbrook-Akina, boom, get in there. I mean, he is a first-round pick, and he's going to get every opportunity to matter. And I think that as the season goes on, I think he would be ahead of him in the pecking order. And McMath, I still would say, is probably like a, in spots guy, not like you're not going to see him a ton out there. But, yeah, he's obviously gotten a lot better, and I think you probably got to look at Rob Moore and say, man, that's been a year of really good work. It's a much harder job than people realize. And he's a great example. Like, great, you're big and fast, and you can catch a football. Like, there's so much more to it. Westbrook-Akina is a great example of a guy who not like the most gifted guy in the world, was an afterthought. I mean, I barely remember him in college football.
Yeah.
But all those little things that make the job hard, if you're really good at all those things, you can actually do it well.
By the way, did we get some clarity on his front last week? Apparently it's not Westbrook-Akina. It's Akine.
Apparently.
He just let it go for a year or 2 years?
I swear it's been asked before. I thought we asked on the show. We didn't. You went back, Michelle.
Yeah, I went back and listened.
That's disappointing. I was too busy breathlessly telling him about how I
but you did make me re-listen to the interview.
And he may have just changed his name again, so Rexrode can't identify him out there.
Still so awkward.
My name is Nick Jenkins, okay?
Joe in the middle of the interview just goes, well, yeah, sorry, that was really awkward.
Yeah, he did. I don't remember. I think it was A to Z Sports had video interview of him, and he says it's Akine.
Yeah, Westbrook-Akine.
So
we will try to do that moving forward.
We'll try to do that, but I think at this point, hasn't he been enough of a regular that we can just call him NWI?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe we should just go to that. He's fine with that, right? Yeah, yes. Go NWI.
615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans receivers and why I'm starting to think it looks like at least 5 spots maybe locked up at this point. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks, the physicality. Robert Woods, route concepts and how to get open.
Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Tennessee has lots of buried pipelines, so it's important to know the signs of a leak, like if you smell unusual odors or hear hissing. Ew. See bubbling earth or water, or dead or dying vegetation. Some signs are even harder to miss, like dirt being blown into the air, a frost ball in an open field, or a flame coming from the ground. If you see any of these signs, don't wait. Leave the area immediately and call 911 or your pipeline company. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Right now, get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. Old School Pizza features New York-style thin crust made fresh to order from imported Italian flour that gives a unique flavor and crunch. Check out Happy Hour every weekday afternoon from 3 to 5 for half off selected appetizers and draft beer. Have pizza the old school way at Old School Pizza in Brentwood. OldSchoolPizzaBrentwood.com.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman & Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game, Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts on the Titans on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So we're discussing the receiving room, and Joe, I got to be honest, I feel as if 5 spots are basically locked up at this point. You've got Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, NWI, obviously. And then I feel like Racey McMath, with the camp that he's had and the role that he can play on special teams, I put him in as a lock at this point, and I think Kyle Phillips is a lock too. To me, that's 5 spots that are locked up at wide receiver for the Titans, and then we'll see how many they want to keep after that. But first off, let's start there. Do you agree that 5 spots are spoken for at the receiver room at the moment?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd be shocked. The only 2, we know the top 3, but those other 2, Phillips and McMath, would be shocked if they're not on the team. And honestly, I'd be shocked if they don't have some role with the offense. I would still probably guess. I'd probably guess Phillips. So a little bit more of a role just because it's a defined role, in the slot there in certain situations. Whereas, McMath still would be in place of one of those other outside receivers who are ahead of him on the depth chart. But yeah, I think that's it. I think it's 5 locks, and I would pick if they're gonna go 6. I would pick Dez Fitzpatrick as the 6. I don't feel terrifically confident in that, and maybe they don't go 6. You do lose a spot somewhere if you're keeping 3 quarterbacks, which I believe they will. And you still have Josh Malone out there. You still have, Godwin has done some good things. Robertson, but then he got banged up. I would give Dez a slight edge to be the 6th guy.
Well, that's going to be interesting because we talked, heading into camp about, guys like Josh Malone, guys like Dez Fitzpatrick. I would agree. Dez is probably my guess at who would be at number 6 at this point. But, other than that, like I'm looking around, and we always knew this was going to be the case between Mason Kinsey and Kyle Phillips, but like to me it's Kyle Phillips at this point. Like he's going to be the guy. So you're not going to they're not keeping both of Mason Kinsey and Kyle Phillips. So like I feel like the receiver room, and I don't know that I necessarily expected it to be this way heading into this week against Tampa, where 5 spots were clearly defined the way that they are. And maybe they're not. Maybe the coaching staff views it differently. But I feel like those 5 guys are pretty clearly set. And I did not expect that to be the case heading into this week.
No, I didn't expect a lot of what I've seen from Racey McMath. In the spring, honestly, I'm trying to, like, you go back and you're like, how closely did you really watch him? But I watched him enough in the spring that I didn't think there was some huge difference. But apparently either I missed it or
a great offseason.
He had a heck of a June, July. Regardless, again, it's not just, wow, look at these plays, he's so good. It's also, look at the reps he's getting again and again. So what do the coaches think? They must think highly of him. And they say things like that too. But, like for example, Todd Downing, you can get some hints on him with somebody struggling from this or that. For the most part, Todd Downing is going to trend to the positive in comments on any players, struggling or otherwise. Like Shane Bowen, it would be someone who's more likely to call it out if someone's struggling, right?
Yep.
So it's one of those things you got to learn to decipher different people who, different coordinators and head coaches. But whatever he says, it's been glowing, by the way. So that means something. But beyond that, the fact that he's getting these opportunities tells you the coaches are like, yeah, Racey, he's got something going on right now.
So do you view, based on that, so let's just assume that those 5 spots are locked up, do you view this room significantly differently than you did heading into camp in terms of the quality of the room and the quality of the depth that they may or may not have?
Yeah, I do. Go through the whole list. Wasn't sure about anything with Traylon Burks after the spring. Okay, it's been overall good. Robert Woods, is he going to be out there doing everything? No brace on his knees, out there doing everything. So Westbrook-Ikhine, thought he'd be good, see progress. He's better than I thought too. I mean, I know this is, I'm treading into, if you're listening to this show and you are a Colts fan, you're like, my God, the biggest homer in the world is on Nashville radio right now talking about the Titans receivers. Phillips, I liked his feet and everything, but he has elevated his game. He's going to make some plays this year for the Titans, and he is going to be a problem for people in those tight areas. He's good. And then the biggest thing is McMath. I did not expect what we've seen from him at all. So you put it all together, man, it's a much better room than I thought it would be at this point. So I know that we're going to have an opener against the Giants. We're all going to watch, the Titans receivers catch a combined 4 catches for 17 yards in a loss to the Giants, and then everybody can laugh at this. But I think that was my number 2 question. And it's still, until you see the actual product on the field, it's still hard. I think the offensive line could totally undercut everything, but I've moved that off some big question mark, and to me it really is that offensive line that stands alone now.
Well, and we were talking heading into camp, could it be that the Titans maybe go out and look for a veteran receiver, whether that be somebody that gets cut or somebody that's still out there on the open market, like a Will Fuller? And I just kind of feel like that's not going to happen at this point. To me, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. If they're going to go look for somebody, it's probably going to be on the offensive line, even though I still don't think there's great options there. But I kind of feel like this is going to be their receiving room, and they're reasonably confident about it. Now, we talked about the 5 guys. Let's say that it is those 5 that we mentioned. What does that mean for Dez Fitzpatrick in terms of his trajectory moving forward? Because they were really high on him in the offseason in terms of the work that he put in. He was one of the offseason award winners. Obviously, it did not go to plan with him last year. If he's the 6th guy at best, what does that mean for him as they move forward here?
That's a good question. Again, based on everybody I just went through there, I think there are other receiver rooms in the NFL where he could be more impactful. I think he's played pretty well. He's improved. He looks pretty good out there. It's just that those 5 guys look better than pretty good right now. So, I mean, it'd be good for him, obviously, to make the team. You want to make the team if you're him. I wouldn't rule him out for being a closer to the back end of a receiver room kind of possession receiver who can be in the league, but maybe it's not here long term.
Well, it may not be. You're talking about a 4th round pick from last year. And it was so disappointing that he couldn't make the team out of camp. And, I feel like there's been progress. I feel like they admit that there's been progress. If he's the 6th guy this year at best. And, look, this thing can change. Racing Me Math can fall off the table, and all of a sudden the dynamic shifts, or somebody's going to get hurt at some point. So things are going to get moved around. So I'm not saying he's not going to have an opportunity. Like, if we learned anything last year, your opportunity's not that far away in the NFL. But in terms of him kind of taking that next step, it feels like there's some guys in front of him right now that are going to be pushing him down where the reps just may not be there for him.
Yeah, and he's another guy, if you go back, think about, again, calling people out. Bowen does sometimes, like Vrabel, every once in a while. Last year for sure with Des Fitzpatrick. Oh, yeah. I mean, he was basically just like, he's got to step it up. There's a big difference between Des Fitzpatrick's camp last year and this year. He's improved a ton. It's just, it's a better room than I ever would have anticipated right now. Based on camp, based on the only information we have. But I think that's really more the story. Like, how he has performed in camp, if you bottled that up and said this is what his performance will be in camp, then I would have guessed going in he would be like in the top 4 or something right now.
Yeah.
But he just isn't.
Well, it's interesting because, we've brought this up a few times, but we talked last year in camp about how many times did we have a guest on that said this is probably the deepest wide receiver room that they've ever had heading into the year. And, we know what happened with it. And, AJ was hurt some. Julio was hurt basically the whole year. Like, we understand what happened. So it's easy now to sit here and play revisionist history. But I have had a feeling, in the A.J. Brown trade made me think differently of this. But with Robert Woods coming in, I did think to myself, man, that 1-2 punch of A.J. and Robert Woods will be way better than Julio Jones ever was. And now I'm sitting here looking at this room, and maybe it's just because I've reached the preseason football fog. But I'm thinking to myself, man, this receiving core, it's pretty deep. They might have something here, way better than they had last year.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot better. But there's also this thing where it's like, okay, so Westbrook-Akina, NWI. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Megan, thanks on the text line. We should also be doing NPF.
Yeah.
Let's do NWI and NPF.
Correct.
Nicholas Petit Frere. Although I love saying Petit Frere.
Yeah.
But NWI, great story. Good camp. You also, you need to be able to, really make plays and beat top corners. And is he that? Is he going to be that this year? I don't know. Is Burks going to get to that at some point? Again, I think the hope would be Burks at some point starts to take some of his snaps because Burks is just too good to keep off the field. That's what you want to happen. We don't know if it'll happen. And if it doesn't happen, then you may have a good deep room and 5 guys you can rely on, but do you have anyone who's out there taking over games like A.J. Brown used to do? You may not.
The bottom line is I think it's a really good sign for the Titans that you feel good about the receiving room. I think it's a really good sign of what they've done so far in camp. But the bottom line of it really hasn't changed all that much for me. Like, Treylon Burks is going to have to be a guy that makes big plays for this team. If they're going to be able to compete near the top of the AFC. They're going to be I have no doubt in my mind they're going to be a good football team this year. But if they're going to compete near the top of the AFC with as much talent as in this conference now, eventually, and it doesn't have to be immediately, but eventually Treylon Burks is going to have to be a big weapon for them this year. Because if he's not, I just don't know if they've got enough talent-wise in the passing game.
I agree. They can move it around, and we haven't talked about tight end. Tight end is better, so that's good. But I agree. He's got to be, you'd like it to be about a month in, where he starts this. It's like, okay, he's got to get on the field more because he's just too good to keep off the field. They need that, and it's possible.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. Got more of your thoughts to get to as well on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you. Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. It's back to school season, and Hiller is giving you free backyard upgrades all month long. Tackle those necessary home replacements in August to take advantage of these special deals, like a free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a new tankless water heater, a free Traeger wood pellet grill with the purchase of a new whole home generator, and also Hiller's going to keep you cool for back to school with special limited time financing promotions on these HVAC replacements. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
When you need electronics or appliances, find great deals in-store or online at Electronic Express. Save big on favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Nintendo, iRobot, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. School is coming back. School's already back for a lot of people, which is kind of amazing. Yep. School is back as early as it is nowadays, and we are looking for your help. $20. It buys a brand new pair of athletic shoes for a homeless child in Middle Tennessee. Yep, just $20. And we're on a mission to help the thousands of homeless children start the school year with a new pair of shoes. Will you join us in that effort? If so, just text DONATE to 615-737-1025. That's DONATE to 615-737-1025. And throw in $20. You can throw in more if you'd like, but $20 is what we're asking for to make a difference in the life of a child. Once again, that's DONATE to 615-737-1025. And let's make that first day of school for kids even more special. Once again, thank you for your support. Talking Titans, welcoming more of your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. It is Bucks week here, so the Titans and the Bucks taking place in some joint practices this week. The preseason game coming up on Saturday, which I'm sure will be a thrilling preseason game on Saturday at Nissan Stadium that you're very much looking forward to. Joe Rexrode.
Every freaking snap.
Can't wait. Going to be some good stuff. No Tom Brady this week. He is out due to some personal reasons and will miss this week on the field. Obviously, he was never going to play in that preseason game either, but will not be playing in the preseason game as well coming up on Saturday. So that's a pretty big bummer to not have Tom Brady here, not just from the standpoint of it's Tom Brady and he and Vrabel have a funny relationship and it's the greatest quarterback of all time, but like if you're Vrabel, you're looking at it from your defensive perspective and saying, man, that's some pretty good work you could have got this week with the greatest quarterback to ever do it, with your corners specifically going up against those receivers. So, it'll be Blaine Gabbert out there. It'll be Kyle Trask out there, but not quite the same as good old number 12 back there slinging it around.
And someone pointed out on the text line, and I apologize, it's a while ago, and I can't credit you, but, Blaine Gabbert also is a Super Bowl
he is champion.
winning. That's right.
Yeah.
So you keep that in mind. Also, former, Titans starter in a huge moment. Almost got it done, but yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad for everyone, us fans, Titans, Bucks.
Yeah.
But that was a heck of a look that the Titans were going to get. The couple years ago, Brady was out there he was just absolutely picking the Titans apart.
Yes.
He enjoyed the heck out of it. That was the preseason before the Titans totally stuffed him in the playoffs, right? Yes, it was. So
that is correct.
You got to take it with a grain of salt, but it's just good work that they're not going to get now. Still, we'll get a lot of good work though over 2 days, and some of these things we've been talking about today, the receivers and the DBs and offensive linemen. I mean, this is a chance to see where you are and get better.
Well, to that point, as you look at specifically the offensive part of the ball, we've talked about the receivers basically the whole hour here. At that part of it, we've talked a lot in the show about Dylan Radins. We'll get back into that here in just a few minutes. But what are a couple of things on the offensive side of the ball that you're looking for that can be gleaned from a practice? I mean, you brought this up earlier. Taylor Lewan talked last week basically about how much he hates these things because it's a different set of circumstances. You're hitting another team, but there's also like no rules of a game out there. It's just sometimes these things can get a little wild and get out of hand. The fights that have happened. The Matt LaFleur was talking yesterday. There's a Saints, I guess the Saints left tackle so far has been thrown out of 3 practices. So they're practicing against the Packers this week. And he's just like, well, that'd be fun.
Maybe
some nice fiery incidents there. It'd be great.
Maybe he gets more fired up hitting his own teammates.
Well, last year
it's the opposite of most people.
Maybe
in
so.
Tampa, AB, right? He got in a fight with one of the Titans players. Who was it? It was Antonio Brown, and I forget who it was.
Was it Fulton?
May have been. I need to go back and look.
I don't know. Chris Jackson?
I think that's who it was.
I think
it's
that's who
Chris
it was.
Jackson.
It was Chris Jackson, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, as we know, AB's very calm out there. So
yeah.
That'll
Jesus at Red Rocks.
He's got things
Unbelievable tweet from him.
Play an acoustic set. Well, Lewan also is, Lewan's he's a target, right?
Oh,
Lewan's a star, highly paid guy. He's got the podcast. I'm sure he says a lot of funny stuff out there in between snaps. So think about like the hit he took in that Dolphins game.
Oh,
man. Which not cool at all. He's a target in something like this. So, and by the way, he's going up against some really good guys in some of these. You'll have some, but I think that to answer your question, obviously the offensive line stuff, right tackle stuff, Aaron Brewer. If you want to see if Aaron Brewer can hold up in an NFL season, this is a pretty decent team to look at.
Yeah.
Vita Vea blots out the sun.
It's half a mountain out there, yeah.
So that's something. I also think about like the tight ends. I'm still with Chigakonkwo. It's a lot of it is being able to hold up in line, to be on the field in different situations. There's a lot of good looks different guys in the offense can get. Derrick Henry, see if he can blast through a bunch of – no, I'm just kidding. He's not going to be tackled.
Give him 20 carries.
Yeah, just run.
Go, Derrick.
Run into – let's see if you can run over Vita Vea. Let's just have you two line up 10 straight times, see what happens.
Oh, man. It's going to be an interesting time to be Derrick Henry right now. Like, your work of the preseason is pretty much done at this point, just waiting for the regular season to get here.
So yesterday at practice, which again was one of the most boring practices ever, it was like a walk-through speed. Late in the practice, starting to walk toward the interview area, and so like the TD was ahead of me a little bit, and like it basically, Derrick Henry was out there on the field with Tony Dews, the running backs coach, and they're just kind of hanging. And like Tony Dews like just starts yelling at TD, like joking around with him and stuff. And they're just like, just over here kind of hanging out. I mean, they are doing work. They're working on stuff. Don't get me wrong, keeping in shape, stuff like that. But yes, he's basically just, Derrick, we'll see you in September, buddy. You've got a few words of support for the guys. You're welcome to do that. And other than that, just stay healthy, pal.
I will say I'm interested to see how Tannehill looks this week and next week because, this is basically the last real work against competition that he's going to get in terms of the preseason part of this. He's not going to play in the preseason games, I wouldn't think. So, obviously they still can't hit the quarterbacks in these things, but, going up against a good defense in Tampa Bay, a good front on both occasions in Tampa Bay and Arizona, how do the Titans hold up, and how does Tannehill look against different looks and different schemes out there? I'm interested to see what that looks like because I will say in terms of like the preseason part of this, you get to the preseason games themselves, and I think the injury risk is the biggest reason of why quarterbacks aren't playing all that much in the preseason. But it's also, and Aaron Rodgers talked about this last week, nobody gives you any looks. Like you're not running exotic blitzes or anything out there in the preseason. It's about as vanilla as it gets. It won't be that way in practice. Like they'll give you some different looks. So I think this is valuable work for Tannehill in terms of probably the last really valuable work he's going to get before the regular season.
Yeah, and we can continue to see if he's a completely transformed person and quarterback. Clearly is the case because Jeremy Fowler was here for an hour and said so.
Yeah.
He's got his finger on the pulse of this team.
He does. Attitude's different.
Totally.
Kind of a bigger jerk out there.
Yeah, he changed his hair. He's got green hair now. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde out there. Ryan Tannehill.
We've talked about the Titans' offensive line part of this. I will say the Bucs have a bit of an interesting situation on their offensive line right now. I mean, they lost Jensen for a significant amount of time with his injury. They had some issues before that. I think Kappa was gone. He left this offseason. So their offensive line was kind of a question mark anyway. Like, I would like to see the Titans get after Gabbard out there. You're not going to hit the quarterback, but this is a chance for the front, if you're the Titans, I think, to flex your dominance a little bit because there's still some holes on that Tampa offensive line.
Yeah. Now, you get close to him, and there's going to be a whistle, and if you touch him, then the fight starts.
Then there's going to be a fight.
So, but I'm with you for sure. This should be a good pass rush week for them. And to your point, you're absolutely right on the blitzing and everything. I will say, the Ravens, who obviously really like winning the preseason game, they did blitz quite a bit. They did send different stuff at those guys. So I guess it's probably
that stuff's important up there, man.
Well, it's probably good to play them, right?
Yeah.
If you want those looks, you got a young quarterback, you want to get those looks, and you've been saying, and you guys can go ahead and win the game. There you go. What is it? 22 in a row.
It's impressive what they're doing up there.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. I will say, I said this earlier. I was down in Tampa last week. Saw a little bit of the local news. A lot of love for Julio.
Yeah.
The term 2019 Julio Jones has been tossed around.
What if he comes in here and just torches everyone? Oh, what a week it
Look,
could
if he
be.
comes
That'll
in here
make
and
up for
actually
Brady
participates in the practice. That'll be great.
That would be a step, yeah. Yeah, I really hope he at least participates, right?
Apparently he's looked pretty good down there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get back into the Dylan Radins discussion. Some strong words from Trevor Maddich on Dylan Radins on Stillman & Company on Friday. We'll get to those next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
Because we have a great show planned for you today.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Blood Assurance, this community's local blood centers, is hiring for several open positions in the Nashville area. Be a part of a company that helps save lives by providing the local hospitals with the much-needed life source of blood. They offer competitive pay, great benefits, paid time off, and retirement benefits. Blood Assurance has a family-friendly environment. Go to bloodassurance.org/careers. Again, that's bloodassurance.org/careers to apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
After redshirting his first year at Ohio State, Joe Burrow spent the next 2 years as J.T. Barrett's backup. With Dwayne Haskins on the roster, Burrow didn't see much playing time and decided to transfer. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron zeroed in on Burrow and landed him. In his second season at LSU, Burrow led the Tigers to a 15-0 record, a national championship, and arguably the best season ever by a college quarterback.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
When your college football team talks to the right recruits, anything is possible. And the same is true for your business, because when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 810 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to the most qualified candidates so you can start hiring the right people. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stone and Company. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushes. Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We are talking Titans and welcoming more of your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So Dillon Radunz has been a very popular topic of conversation on our program here today, and has been a very popular topic of conversation heading into this season. And Trevor Maddich joined Stillman & Company on Friday to offer his thoughts on what he saw from Dillon Radunz and the right tackle position in the game against Baltimore last week. And he did not hold back as to what he thought of Dillon Radunz and his performance. Here's what Trevor Maddich had to say last Friday on Stillman & Company.
Yeah, the bad North Dakota State, the Bison, they were well represented yesterday by Dillon Radunz. He started the game at right tackle and basically got tossed around. I mean, on the opening series for the Titans on third down, they left Radunz on an island on the right side. He had a pass rusher coming in from lined up very wide. There was no tight end out there. There was no help. And this happens often in preseason games where coaches will leave players on an island, whether it's a pass blocker or a corner on a wide receiver or a linebacker having to cover a running back in coverage. They'll leave them on an island to see what they can do. So Radin's first opportunity, he took his set on that guy all by himself on a big old island, and the pass rusher gave him a club with his inside arm and bent Radin's over sideways away from the line of scrimmage. I mean, just about tossed him onto his ear. I'm surprised Radin didn't go down. That's where Corey Levin, I think it was Levin, bailed him out, right? But that wasn't good. That's one play. But there were so many other plays where Radin's actually got his man blocked from the standpoint of the guy didn't get to the quarterback, but it looked incredibly crazy. Radin's arms and legs just spread every which way. He wasn't punching, he was catching. So he was the punching bag. He wasn't turning the defender into the punching bag. There was nothing to fear if you're a pass rusher when you rush Radin, because he's not going to harm you in any way. He's just going to sort of get his hands on you and try to envelop you and catch you and then try to drop anchor. Well, a lot of times he'll do that, but instead of dropping anchor, or before he drops anchor, he'll end up getting pushed back with both feet in the air. Now he's airborne. And then he puts both feet down. He's able to drop anchor enough to where the guy doesn't get to the quarterback. Well, you go against starting NFL pass rushers, and you're going to get absolutely annihilated. And so he just did not inspire in me confidence that he's at a place where the foundation is when he can build from and become a starting right tackle, where Petit Frere kind of showed that foundation a little bit at that position. Now, it's one game. It wasn't against the Ravens starters. There's a lot that they can both get better at. But that's what I saw in this first game, and I expected better out of Dylan Radin.
So that was Trevor Maddich on Friday on Stillman & Company with some pretty harsh words for Dylan Radins there in terms of what he saw from his performance. What did you make of that, and what do you make of what Dylan Radins has done thus far in camp in the battle at right tackle?
Well, I think you have to put stock in what Trevor says. Trevor's awesome, on Jared's show, but also on ESPN. He's a long-time NFL lineman. He knows what the heck he's talking about. When I hear those things, I'm like, gosh, I watch the game. I was like, yeah, he's okay. My analysis not quite as detailed or effective as Trevor Maddich's. I thought Radins was fine.
Dylan Radins was shot out of a cannon, out of the field, backwards, according to Trevor Maddich.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was not the same evaluation Todd Downing had. But again, the coaches, and I think Downing, probably more than some coaches, not going to come out and say all the things that someone did wrong. It's interesting. I will say also on Radins, as someone who can't evaluate offensive line play close to what Maddich does, naked eye, daily in practice, Dylan Radins looks a lot better to me than he did a year ago. Now, a year ago, as we know, it was not good at all. So he's improved, but if what Maddich said there is, if the Titans coaches agree at all, and if that's really what we're talking about when starting pass rushers start showing up on the other side of him, well, then I already have the inkling, I have the feeling, I believe that at some point Nicholas Petit Frere, NPF, is going to take that starting job. Maybe it's earlier rather than later. I'm still going to guess that Radin starts the opener, and maybe that's a humbling day if it's this bad.
Well, you guys had Gentry on last week, and he's not the first that I've heard say this in terms of the starter at right tackle for the Titans is not currently on the roster. I understand that thought process. I just don't know who that is that's better than or significantly better than what you have now. Like, to me, honestly, if it's that close, I'd probably just go with Petit Frere and you live with mistakes he's going to make. Like, that's what I would do. Now, maybe, obviously, they're smarter than I am on the offensive line and they could feel differently, but I just don't know if I buy that somebody that's clearly better than those two is going to be out there by the time cuts are made. Like, offensive linemen in the NFL, if you have good ones, generally speaking, you like to hold on to them because injuries happen very frequently, and especially, you can never have enough tackles. Like, we know that. So I don't know that I buy that there's just going to be some tackle that's out there that gets cut here in a couple of weeks, the Titans are like, oh, yeah, let's go get him and make him our starter at right tackle. I don't know if I see that. And the other point, and people will say, well, there's guys out there that are not on teams right now. That's fine. If that's the case, why have they not already signed them? I feel like if the Titans were going to make a move there, they'd have done it by now.
Yeah. I mean, someone earlier on the text line mentioned Eric Flowers, guy who's, has played some good football in this league. He's bounced around a ton lately. Sometimes teams move on from guys for money purposes, so I guess that's possible. But like you said, if that's something the Titans need to do or are really compelled to do, then, man, you probably want someone in here right now working in your offense, working next to who they're going to work, all that stuff. And maybe there is someone who gets cut at some point who you believe is better than what you have. You'd have to believe it's way better to just go last second, wouldn't you? And
I mean, either that or you are really concerned about the two options you currently have and are willing to try anything. Like, that's what that would tell me.
And I don't think it's all that drastic between the two of them. It's a big month ahead. It's a big 4 weeks ahead. 4 weeks from yesterday is the opener, for them to play better and get better. But I think the competition's good, and I think it's still more good than bad. Just, again, my naked eye between the two of them is more good than bad. It's not great. It's a concern. It's the number one concern. I don't think it's going to be an absolute disaster with either of them. But I could be wrong. Trevor's analysis there was not encouraging.
Mason on YouTube says, we haven't had a right tackle since Conklin left, and all we've done is win the division every year, get the number one seed, and have a running back that has 3,000 rushing yards in his last season and a half. Does it really matter that much? This is coming from Mason on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way you can look at it that way. I mean, you have to have sacrifices in this league at some point. Like, in some spots, you have to take some shortcuts. Last year, it was tight end for the Titans. This year, they're like, okay, I can't do that again. Again, they've tried to address it. If they weren't trying to address it, they wouldn't have drafted a right tackle in the first and then second and then third round in back-to-back-to-back drafts, right? So I hear what you're saying. But you'd like to be solid there. I mean, if you're not solid there and Tannehill is just going to be under siege from that side, I guess it's better than being under siege from the blind side, but it's still not good. Let's remember, too, that with the overall group run blocking, you just lost your best run blocker or one of your two best with him and Lawan. So, you're weaker because of that. You just are losing Roger Saffold. Roger Saffold was at his best. He was a tremendous run blocker. So I hear what you're saying, but you don't want to be garbage anywhere.
No, and the hope was that maybe pass protection wise you could get better. Like David Questenberry, for what he was, I think stepped in and did an admirable job. But David Questenberry is not a starting right tackle in this league. So you're hoping that, pass protection gets a little better with whether it's Radens or Petit Frere, whoever it is, whoever ends up being that guy, that it gets better from that standpoint. We'll see whether or not it does. I said this earlier in the show, and I kind of feel this way. To me, it feels inevitable that at some point this year, Petit Frere is going to be the starter at right tackle, whether that's early or whether that's a little bit later in the season. But that's just kind of me reading the tea leaves now. It kind of feels like eventually it's going to be Lawan on the left side and Petit Frere on the right side, and then Radens becomes the swing tackle. And I know maybe that's not what some fans want to hear with your second-round pick from a year ago, but that's my thoughts on where this is headed this year at some point. Maybe not week one against the Giants, but at some point Petit Frere is going to be the guy.
And that would be first-round complete flame-out. Second-rounder, disappointing, but still hanging on in the league, can maybe help you a little bit. Third-rounder starter. I don't know what that tells you. Just keep going lower and lower. You're going to find a Pro Bowler by the 7th round in 2026.
Maybe so. 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans, including a latest player ranking from NFL Network is out with their top 100, and a Titan has shown up maybe a little higher than people thought he would be. We'll get to that coming up next as well. Go yard all summer long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on Tuesday MLB games. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every home run. So I've been high on the Yankees this year. They've hit the ball out of the yard left and right, and quite honestly, their ballpark makes it easier to do that. I like the Braves, too. Braves are hitting the ball well, playing better in the second half of the season. So those are the two teams that I would look at. But you take it any way you want to take it. What are you waiting on? Just pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Head on over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB. Once again, that promo code is Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $25. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
For the average fan, I think there was more talk about A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, than there is Traylon Burks, Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Kyle Phillips, and Racey McMahon. Because that's what it is right now. And maybe one other guy makes the team, but I'm not even sure that other guy's all that important. Those are Tannehill's receivers. So, I can make the argument that those guys really aren't all that good and that it's not going to – but I do think the holding accountable, like use every option available if you have to. And that is where Tannehill is that I feel like he has to use every option that is available to him, and telling every single one of those guys where to be and when to be there is the most important thing. And so, again, he reamed out, supposedly. I wasn't there, so I didn't see it, but Joe talked about this the other day. He reamed out Kyle Phillips at practice last week, which is good.
Who had a couple nice catches today.
And had a couple nice catches and got a couple pluses. And he said that he is pushing the guys harder this year. Tannehill is, which is good. And Tannehill's performance so far at training camp, in my opinion, has been good. So with that, I feel personally like that they may be onto something. If Tannehill was stinking it up, I would say that changing his personality means nothing. He's not stinking it up. And again, the only thing that matters are the games. I know. But all I can go off of is what I'm looking at right now. What I'm looking at right now, it's different. It's good different. It's better than bad different. It's better than the same different. This is good different.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, You need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you are buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Old School Pizza was voted number 3 best new restaurant in Nashville and offers pizza and other Italian specialties. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals now to get a $30 gift card for only $15 to Old School Pizza while supplies last. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We welcome in Joe Rexrode, who is on his way to Titans training camp out there. And Joe, the NFL Top 100, it's that time of the year again where the names are starting to come out as players vote on the top 100 players in the NFL. Jeffrey Simmons coming in at number 54, which has some Titans fans currently on Titans Twitter a little upset, thinking that maybe that's a little too low, or I guess high, however you want to view this voting, for Jeffrey Simmons. Thought he'd be more towards maybe like the mid-30s, but number 54 for Jeffrey Simmons. What do you make of that ranking for Jeffrey Simmons in the NFL Top 100, which, by the way, I think Derrick Henry was 4 last year, so looking forward to seeing where he is too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's definitely low, right?
I think so.
This, I get into this with seeding too. People are like lower seeded, and and they're like, yeah, you're the lowest seeded team. You're a 1 seed. Like, no, that's the highest you can be. You're
correct.
A 1. Yes. So, very important. That could be a good rant topic one day. Yeah. I guess if you asked me to guess what NFL players would vote Jeffrey Simmons, I would have probably guessed after last year that they would have put him in the top 30, 40 range, somewhere in there, more like in the 30s, I think, maybe. Even like 28 or something. That would have been my guess. But you say that, and then, okay, now start listing out every player. Like, okay.
Right.
And how much is he valued? Now, what I'll be interested in seeing is when this list is complete, how many, if any, defensive tackles are there between Aaron Donald and Jeffrey Simmons?
Right. Well,
I would be surprised if there are many.
For instance, I mean, at 53, one spot ahead of Jeffrey Simmons is Mike Evans, and then you got Matthew Judon and Alvin Kamara. They're the 3 that are ahead of him. So nobody even close to the same position that he plays. It could be. Is the next guy that's in front of him going to be Aaron Donald, or is there another defensive tackle or 2 that's in front of him? That's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's going to be what, number 1, number 2,
somewhere in that
3?
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll be very interested to see how many guys are between those at that position. I know I've seen some rankings that have a few guys, before you get to Simmons. I think that's probably wrong, but. Another thing that's interesting is just the Titans, because I do like this list. It's players in the league. I mean, it's interesting. It can still be a little bit of a popularity contest and stuff like that. But last year, if I recall correctly, the Titans had quite a few people on the list, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Julio was on the list somewhere.
Julio Jones, the top 100 guy last year.
I think so.
List?
Yeah.
And AJ.
Derrick Henry.
And Derrick Henry and Jeff at least. Right?
Yeah.
Did Tannehill make it, or am I thinking of that incorrectly? At the very back end of it. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I don't know. I need to go double check.
But
you
I
think he makes it this year?
I'm going to guess no. Although he's a totally changed man in quarterback, I'm going to guess no. I'm guessing it's just going to be Simmons and Henry, right?
I would think so. Like, do you think there's any chance? I doubt it. But Harold Landry, after the big year he had last year, does he crack in there?
No.
Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard's got to be in there.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry. Yeah, Byard. Yeah, Byard should be in there. He should be. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I think sometimes safeties can just be forgotten about, right, in general. And we're talking top 50 now. So where did it end, do you know? Like, where are they right now? They stopped
51.
at 50? Yeah, okay. So they're about to get in the top 50. Yeah, but I would think so. He should be. Now, I don't know that see, that's the thing, though. I don't know that at this point I would agree. Like, I would probably have Simmons ahead of him. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's so, like, dominant defensive tackles to me are so hard to find and valuable. But yes, Byard should be on the list. Should be in the top 100 for sure. And then it'll also be interesting to see, like, Derrick Henry coming off the year he came off, obviously. No arguments with where he was put last year. I imagine he'd be quite a bit down the list now after the injury. But then again, like, you could still be a player and be like, I don't care about the injury. If he's playing this year because he's 6'3", 250, and he runs 25 miles an hour, you know?
Right. Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Wes in Clarksville texting in says, not playing starters in preseason games is a mistake. Look at last year's Cardinals game. It was embarrassing because they weren't ready. This is coming from Wes in Clarksville. Do you think it's a mistake to not play the starters in the preseason games themselves?
No. I just have like, if I was in those shoes, I think I'd be doing the same thing. So I can't sit here and say, like, I understand the sentiment, but let's go through Rabel's history of that. So he's had 4 preseasons. He's had 4 season openers. Obviously, his opening game with the Titans was just a debacle, but not really in, like, a team not being ready. It's in a team getting just injured, and the thunderstorms are just awful. Just, a phantom hold on a Derrick Henry touchdown, like, just a terrible all the way around day. But I didn't think that was like some team unprepared to play. 19, they went into Cleveland and absolutely just destroyed the darling Browns that was going to be the breakout team in the NFL that year, right? I mean, Mariota and Cam Wake just laid waste to the city of Cleveland.
They did.
A.J. Brown, takes one, a little short passing and a huge play. Derrick Henry takes it to the house. They win at Denver in 20. Weird offseason anyway. It wasn't a great performance. They won, and then last year they stunk. They absolutely stunk and got smoked. But it's not like we have this trend of every year, you can count on that Vrabel opener because he doesn't play the starters. I mean, last year they sucked. They also played a team that they couldn't block. They had guys come off injuries trying to block people. They just played terribly. I mean, week 2, they go out and get a huge win over, at the time, a team that was still, it was maybe overrated, but still they had their players. They had Russell Wilson. That was still a damn good win just 1 week later on the road. So I can't really put too much stock in it.
Well, the thing is, nobody else is playing their starters either for the most part. And
exactly.
What difference is it going to make if Ryan Tannehill and the offense are in there for one series or not in there at all? Like, is one series really going to make that big a difference? If you're a Titans fan, do you feel better about them being ready for the season because they got in one series of a preseason game and handed the ball off twice and then threw it on 3rd and 5? Like, I don't know how much better I'm feeling about that. So
right.
I just don't think it makes that big of a difference.
Now, the philosophy that used to prevail in the league was dress rehearsal, 3rd game, and starters on both sides are playing a half, and they get a good look. Like, you play a half of football against a team that's actually playing defensive starters, okay. I mean, I see how there's some value to that. But like you said, the thing is, even if you do play, and so, for example, Frank Reich made the somewhat surprising decision to play Matt Ryan a fair amount in the opener. But it's still like you're not even going against starting defense because the other team's not going to play him, probably. So what kind of a look are you really getting? Are you not getting a better look in practice when you go against your own ones? You're certainly getting a better look when you do the joint practices and you go your ones against their ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so like the preseason games are what we watch. That's the thing that's televised. So there's just way more put into them than it should be. But like you said, it's such a limited rep situation anyway. How is that some big sea change in how prepared you are for the start of the season? I don't see it.
We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. More of your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Men, what if I told you that now you are able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMD4Men.com.
Are you ready for this?
You've never seen the PBR like this. Buckle up for the ultimate weekend in Western sports as the PBR Team Series invades Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, August 19th through the 21st. 8 teams, 3 days, 1 champion. Don't miss your chance to watch history as it's made. Get your tickets now at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. PBR Team Series. Bull riding will never be the same.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come, join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
Are you sick and tired of constant pain in your knees, hips, or back? Especially this time of the year. You need to be moving pain-free, right? Hey, Willie Donick here for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new, natural way to deal with joint pain. No side effects, no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Michelle Knezovic, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll catch up with Joe Rexrode live from Titans training camp coming up here in about 15 minutes at 9:45. Right now, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So a lot of conversation about the backup quarterback position over the last couple of days. Malik Willis playing at times well on Thursday, at times maybe not so much. Need to be a little bit more decisive with the ball, and that's something Vrabel has harped on a lot throughout training camp thus far. Michelle, what do you make of the backup quarterback competition between Logan Woodside and Malik Willis, and what did you think of the way that Malik Willis played last Thursday?
Well, Robby, heading into the game last Thursday, honestly, my mindset was zero expectations, right? He's a rookie. He was a third rounder. There was a lot of polarizing views surrounding Malik Willis and where he even fit in the draft. Some people were really high on him. Some people were really low on him. And then I think, what we've seen in practice, it was him performing pretty well on 7-on-7, but that's when you don't have anybody rushing towards you. So heading into Thursday's game against Baltimore, I didn't have many expectations. And I think the first play was he kind of threw the ball and it looked like it slipped or something like that. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be a long game. But you definitely saw, I think Joe mentioned it earlier, about 5 plays that you could put together and say, oh, okay, there's potential there that he could be a good quarterback. And then if you put a couple other 5 plays, it's a completely different opinion. I think as far as the backup quarterback role goes, I do think Logan Woodside still has it, not because of his performance on Thursday, but because he has been a guy who's been in this offense for a couple years now and has actually had reps in the NFL. I think that Malik Willis's ceiling is obviously higher than Logan Woodside's and that he has time to surpass him. But I also don't think there's any rush, right? If there was an instance where Ryan Tannehill got hurt early in the season, then maybe you think more about Malik Willis and, you say, okay, we use this year to get him out there, get reps because you feel more comfortable having him gain that experience than you do with Logan Woodside. But I think it just depends on the situation. If Ryan Tannehill's healthy, I think you feel better about Logan Woodside being a game manager, just being able to go out there if need be. But I think if you're talking about maybe a season needing a quarterback, throw Malik Willis out there and just get him some reps. But yeah, I don't think quite yet. I think we're still going to need to see more from him this week. I think the Bucs will be a good test, seeing their ones go up against him and also with the Cardinals next week. But I still think it is a little too early to say that he's solidified that role, Rob.
I think it's interesting because I thought Todd Downing's comments yesterday on basically how he views the backup quarterback competition were interesting. And what he said was you just need to be able to run the offense on a moment's notice. And, Malik Willis, all indications are he's extremely smart. He's very bright, and he's a guy that has picked up information really quickly. It's a matter of translating that information from your head into your body on the field and having your body be quick enough to react. And I think that's something that's going to take some time, not only because he's a rookie, but because of the offense that he was running in college. It was a very elementary type offense in terms of you're looking at the sideline, they're telling you the play, they're telling you the coverage, and you're just going. There's not a whole lot of thought that has to be involved, which is good. I think that allows you to play pretty fast in college, but that's not the case in the NFL. I do think on Thursday we saw a few moments from Malik Willis that really illustrate why the Titans, I think, could have something with it. I think obviously the touchdown run where he's able to, create some space for himself, roll out to his left, and then, the dance he was able to do to get into the end zone was really impressive. The sidearm throw as he's kind of fading away, the throw to Racing McMath, he's got a heck of an arm.
Yeah, he does.
I think the talent that he's got is pretty evident. But there have been all kinds of guys that have come into the league that are talented that don't put everything else together. And I think it's going to be a process with him putting everything else together. So I think it's easy to watch the game on Thursday and look at the talent difference between Malik Willis and Logan Woodside and think to yourself, all right, well, Malik should be the backup quarterback. And I think eventually he will be, and I think eventually he could maybe one day be a good starter for the Titans. Who knows? We'll see on that front. But right now, if you had to ask me today who I think the backup's going to be come week 1 against the Giants, I think it's going to be Logan Woodside, and I think it's going to be because they're comfortable with him. Now, at some point, being comfortable with a guy, he's got to be able to do more than that. If Malik Willis can get on the field and he can be a bigger threat and it gives you a better chance to win than Logan Woodside does, then comfortability doesn't really matter at some point. But I do think right now with Logan Woodside, Corey Curtis put it at 80 to 90% earlier in the show of him being the backup quarterback. I'd probably say I'm somewhere in that neighborhood, 75, 80. I'm probably not 90, but 75, 80%. He's the backup.
No, I'm pretty much on that route too. I actually did a poll, and it's mostly fans on Twitter, and a lot of people are choosing Malik.
Oh yeah.
But I think if all the points that we've kind of laid out, about Logan Woodside and about Malik Willis. Right now, Logan Woodside, he has the knowledge of the offense. He's able to, process this in a game setting. But Malik Willis also in training camp, he hasn't been shy to say, one of my biggest challenges right now is being able to match his feet to his brain and being able to put it all together on the field. And that just comes with reps. He was like, all I can do is just, keep studying film, keep listening to it, but you have to be able to put it all together. And he's only been with Tennessee for a couple months now, right? So how far he's already come, and then think about another year under his belt. Next year, we could be having a completely different conversation. But I do think another point, too, is that getting him out there in that preseason game and having him score a touchdown, that is going to build so much confidence for him, too, as being a rookie. Like, you could even see it on his face, like how happy he was when he dove into the end zone. And that is just such a confidence builder. And I think that means a lot, especially at the quarterback role. And even in training camp, you've seen him in the huddle and, he takes command from, an outsider looking in. And that's what you want to see in a rookie, especially because a lot of the guys surrounding him have been on this team for a while now.
Well, and honestly, if I'm a fan, I would rather have a guy like Willis in terms of he's got the talent. It's just a matter of putting everything else together around it. I would rather work with somebody like that who's a rookie than the other way around of, okay, well, maybe the talent's not quite there, but, everything else is ready to go. I think the ceiling for Malik Willis, if he can put it all together, is pretty high. So that excites me if I'm a Titans fan. And honestly, some of the throws he made the other night did nothing to shy that away from me. There were some throws that he made in that game, and I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, well, because you can't teach talent.
Yeah.
So from the Titans' perspective, okay, he's got the talent. We can teach him and give him the tools. Hopefully, because being a quarterback is obviously very hard. Only a small few can do it in the NFL. Then you can mold him into that.
Elliot on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com says, before the preseason game, I thought Willis was way behind Woodside. Then I watched Woodside. I think Willis made a legit competition for backup, not because he's great, but because Woodside was terrible. I don't love either option to win games if Tannehill goes down, though. Coy in Clarksville texting in says, do you see the Titans bringing in a veteran, and if so, who and why? I don't. I don't think they're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. I think it's going to be Woodside probably is the backup because he's been in the system for a couple of years and they trust him. I think they're going to carry three. I think obviously Malik Willis is going to be around, but I don't see them going out and getting somebody else. I think, ultimately if they had to choose and Woodside got in there and he wasn't getting it done, I think they'd go with Willis. I don't think they'd go find another veteran.
Well, personally, the way I look at it is you don't want to waste your money on a veteran quarterback. You'd rather go get a veteran offensive lineman that could actually, help protect Ryan Tannehill. I don't think it would be worth it to go. I mean, who's even out there? Okay, you got Jimmy G. Don't know where he's going to be. I don't even know who's else there.
I mean, there's just guys that
random
are
guys,
not on a roster
backups.
for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
You start to get into that game. I mean, now maybe the situation. Let's say that Tannehill goes down,
different story,
and is hurt, and he's going to be out for a while. Then maybe that changes. Maybe you go get a veteran guy at that point, because maybe Willis isn't ready, and do you want Logan Woodside to be your quarterback for 9 weeks? I don't know. Maybe the Titans do. Maybe he's the best option available, but I could see them go getting a veteran under that circumstance. But while Tannehill's healthy, I don't think that they're going to entertain the idea of going to get a veteran.
No, I agree. I think it would be a waste of money. But to your point, if he does go down and you don't think Malik Willis is ready and you have all these pieces around you, you have a great defense, and you're in a go for it and you're doing well halfway through the season, say you still got 9 weeks left and you think you could make a playoff push, I think you definitely go out and sign somebody. But as of right now, I mean, Logan Woodside's a fine option, and then you've got a rookie who has a lot of potential in him. I don't think you need to make any moves at that position unless Ryan Tannehill gets hurt.
Elliot on the text line says, they brought in veterans, and Woodside always wins the job. That man must tell great jokes. He must make Vrabel giggle.
That is very true.
They have tried to take Logan Woodside's job, and he just won't let him.
Trevor Siemian, he was on the Bears. He had quite the game the other day.
Yeah, he told him to pound sand when he was here with Logan Woodside. Not taking his job. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. We'll catch up with Joe Rexrode live from Titans training camp coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
An effective defense often hinges on sophisticated strategies relating to income tax projections, business valuations, spousal support claims. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. So don't let it sit there. Use it. Willie Donick here for my friends once again at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home. And the payments are crazy low. Think what you could do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal. Don't just let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Need an appliance? Shop the new appliance truckload event at Lowe's, going on now. From refrigerators and ranges to dishwashers and laundry pairs, we have a large selection of appliances from the brands you trust. Plus, get store-wide savings by shopping other in-stock categories. Go to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowes.com to shop the appliance truckload event and find what you need now. While supplies last, valid through 8/17.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic, intern Hanley here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We head out to Titans training camp to welcome in Joe Rexrode. Our Titans training camp coverage presented by Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. We'll catch up with Joe here in just a few minutes. Interesting stuff today at Titans camp. They went through a bit of a walkthrough yesterday. They've got the Bucks coming in later this week for practice. So obviously, I think today will probably be a little bit lighter before they ramp things up against the Bucks coming up here in just a few days. But going to be interested to see how the Titans handle that. And we now catch up with Joe Rexrode, now out live at Titans training camp. Joe Rexrode, what's going on? How are you? I don't know that we have Rexrode yet. He just dropped all of it. We'll get catched up with him or caught up with him here in just a second. Taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caleb in Gallatin texting in says, what number do you guys predict Derrick Henry will be since he got an injury midway through the season last year on the NFL Top 100? I think he was number 4 last year on the Top 100, so I guess as he drops down a little bit, but I think he'll still be in the top 10. I'll go 8. That's my random guess for Derrick Henry. Do we have Joe Rexrode?
I am here.
Welcome, Joe Rexrode.
The mic is working. So they've got shoulder pads on today, so maybe today will be a little more interesting. Still not full pads, but shorts and shells as opposed to just shells, or I'm sorry, just helmets yesterday. So, it's weird actually being out here with no fans. In fact, looks like there's no family out here today too. So it's kind of a low-key day before they get ramped up, of course, in a couple days with the Bucks. A lot of guys on the bikes you can see out there too. That crowd always gets bigger and bigger as camp goes on.
A lot of guys on the bikes, and we'll see how that continues to unfold during camp. It does seem like Derrick Henry is out on the field today during camp, so imagine he's enjoying his individual drills before the sand pit. Be good day for him.
Well, so even like for yesterday, for example, he did offense, but they were doing walkthrough, right? So like when there's absolutely no chance that someone's going to accidentally like fall into him or something. They'll still put him in an offense drill and let him see the play and run the play. Like walk through speed. So, but yeah, there probably won't be a ton, but maybe he'll do a little bit more today. For the most part, that sand pit gets a lot of action.
So we talked about this earlier, Joe. I'm of the opinion that 5 spots at wide receiver right now are locked up. I think obviously the 3 that we knew anyway with Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, and NWI. And I think based on the camp that he's had in the preseason game thus far that Racing McMath has had and the special teams role that he plays, I think he's a lock to make the roster. And I think Kyle Phillips, with that specific role that he plays in the slot, is a lock as well. Number 1, do you agree with that? And number 2, what does that mean for the rest of these receivers now competing for a number 6 spot, assuming the Titans decide to keep 6?
Yeah, that's my list of locks too, and one of them really, I think the Kyle Phillips thing shouldn't be surprising. I kind of thought that going in. They drafted him for a role. He really is the one guy on this roster who can fill that role effectively the way he does. So he would have been my pick already, but then after that, I wasn't sure. I think I put 7 receivers on my initial 53, including Racy, Dez, and Josh Malone.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, Racing McMath has, I think, to me, been the surprise story of camp. I don't know who else would, Burks, very encouraging. Maybe just Farley and Woods not having any limitations is a big surprise. You've got some guys who have popped up, like Shakur Brown, for example, coming in late and making a run, and DeMarcus Lawrence on the D line for sure. I mean, I think he's a lock to make this team, and I did not have that going in. But I think Racing McMath is a story of camp as far as just individual who has exceeded expectations. So I'm going there. And then after that, I think Dez would be 6. I just don't know if there will be a 6. And I'm not sure it's him. I mean, it's close. It's close enough with him, Malone, Robertson. I would say maybe even throw Godwin. Like, could he have an incredible few weeks and make it interesting? I think that's it's up to be contested. I would put Dez. I would give him a slight edge right now.
Do you think it's necessary that whoever that 6th guy is, they're going to have to play a pretty significant special teams role?
Well, that's a good point, and maybe. What's interesting with all of that is, of course, that's another part about Racing McMath that is a big part of him, like already probably being a good bet to make the team before we saw what he's doing at receiver. I think Racing McMath may well be their kickoff returner too. That could come down to the question of, okay, Racing McMath or Trenton Cannon, and are you going to keep another running back just for that? I would say only if Trenton Cannon's incredible all around, like on all 4 special teams.
Right.
Maybe then that gets him on the team, but yes, and see, so Dez Fitzpatrick, Craig Ackerman talked about this yesterday, and it's a good point. I never really thought about it this way. It was like, when rookies come in, these guys haven't played special teams, right? I mean, anybody who's good enough to make the NFL is not playing special teams on their college team. Maybe they did as freshmen or something, but, like, for the most part, you've got to introduce that. And I know that Dez last year, that was part of him not making the team, right? So is he up to being a factor there now? If not, is there anybody else who could be in line for the 6th spot who is? That's another part of the equation that for the coaches is important. For us, it's hard to gauge that right now.
Well, and the other part that we keep going back to, Joe, is they're keeping 3 quarterbacks, you would think. So that spot that normally is occupied, I mean, it's normally 1 quarterback, 2 quarterback, and that's it. That spot is going to have to come away from somewhere else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be receiver, but they're going to have to be maybe a little bit light elsewhere if they're keeping 3 quarterbacks, and maybe it is receiver, and maybe they end up keeping 5. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Are they going to keep a 4th tight end or not? Hudson, and I'm liking what Bradley Moore's doing. I think he's making a little run. They could just go 8 offensive linemen. I think my initial 53, I had them light at the D-line. I think you just add what I had. You add DeMarcus Lawrence, and gosh, I mean, some of these other guys like Deshaun Hand has got a chance. So that's an interesting spot that could be heavier than I expected. So something is going to have to pay. And look, if it's a clear top 5 at receiver and you feel good about everything you're getting from that group, including some in the kicking game, then maybe you just go with that. And by the way, NWI probably this year going to do less in the kicking game, given his role at receiver, although he said yesterday he'd be up for whatever they throw at him, which is a good way to approach it.
I do want to get your thoughts on this text that we just got, Joe, real quickly. This comes from Daryl in Hendersonville. I don't understand Vrabel insisting that Woodside is valuable because he's familiar with the system. The problem is that Woodside may be familiar with the playbook, but he can't execute the playbook. Ask yourself this question. If Woodside was released by the Titans, do you honestly think that he'd be picked up by another team? I think not. This is coming from Daryl in Hendersonville.
Yeah, so I understand the sentiment, but this is also the problem of your only view of this is in the preseason games, because the reality is that they're out here every single day. I saw someone tweet at me, and it was like, it's so obvious in games and practices that Willis is better. It's like, if you watch practice every day, you would not say that, because he does execute the offense, makes the right throws, and does it better than Willis does right now. So, I mean, the preseason game has value, but it's obviously not the only thing taken into account. And on a daily basis, there's a gap between those two. So he may be right about someone picking him up, and I think this is probably Logan Woodside's last year as a Titans backup quarterback. But I think this is going to be one more year of Logan Woodside as a Titans backup quarterback.
Real quickly, what are you looking for today as camp we've got to reach the dog days of camp here before the Bucs get here. What are you looking for today, and what are you looking for this week against Tampa?
Well, the offensive line battle and the offensive line quality. I don't think there's a battle at left guard. Aaron Brewer's a guy I'm definitely interested in watching this week, going against that massive front. That's a big test for him. Really interested to see that in team stuff. Chigakonkwo, seeing in team settings with the ones, when he gets in with the ones or even the twos against the Bucs. How's he doing as a blocker and everything else? Because I think he could be a weapon for the Titans this year, but how often can they get him on the field and not be telling everybody what they're doing? It's a big thing. And obviously the right tackle situation. Caleb Farley, going against Mike Evans, for example. I mean, that's something you love to see and see what kind of look he gets from that. A lot of it is the D-backs and the linemen, but also the receivers going against another team and seeing if it's the same pecking order or if anybody makes a move.
Joseph, have fun at practice. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Chase, Willie, and D-Mace up next. This is 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com